Now that Han Xiao had escaped from the germinal organization, he no longer had access to the resources that he would need to become stronger. Joining the Six Nations would solve this problem. Han Xiao already had a plan in mind. In Galaxy, there was known to be a secret encounter hidden in the western capital. Han Xiao arrived at the gates of a workshop concealed inside an inconspicuous alley. The workshop was nameless, but it had a spanner for a logo. The secret encounter will be mine in this life. There was a chess table set up at the entrance of the workshop. Two elderly men were currently engaged in a game. Their appearances were in stark contrast to one another. The shorter elderly man was bearded and had long unkempt hair, while the taller old man was prim and proper. Both of them were staring at the chess board intently. Han Xiao noticed that the tall old man had a missing arm. Both of them paid little heed to Han Xiao as he stepped into the workshop. Han Xiao took a look at the chessboard. They seemed to be playing an intense game of Go. Suddenly, Han Xiao realized that it was not Go at all. It was 5 in a row. What the hell are you guys looking so serious for? A woman appeared from within the workshop. Do you need something repaired? She had a fair complexion, rosy cheeks, and was around 1.65 m tall. Her hair was clipped behind with a black pin, and she was wearing a black vest on top of denim shorts. Although Han Xiao wouldn't go so far as to call her a stunning beauty, she did have an extremely pleasant-looking face. She was very much the proverbial girl next door who had gentle eyes and a warm smile. She seemed to be in her mid-20s, Han Xiao's personal preference. Women at 20 can be compared to peaches, good to look at but not yet ripe. Women at 30, on the other hand, are like ripe grapes. Of course, these things are always a matter of taste. As for women at 40, what about 50? 50-year-old women cannot be described as fruits anymore. They are potatoes. May I know if this place needs an apprentice? Han Xiao asked. For some reason, the woman was overjoyed to hear his words. She hastily grabbed Han Xiao's blow and pulled him in, as though afraid that he would change his mind. Come in quickly. You might catch a cold. Han Xiao looked up at the blazing sun and wondered, is catching a cold the dialect here for heat stroke? The workshop was largely colored in black and white, and there was a second floor. The first floor was the working area, and it was a fairly spacious area. There were a number of vehicle platforms and workbenches, equipped with various tools and machinery. Han Xiao could tell from the blemishes on the workbenches that they were relatively old. There was also quite a number of metal shelves lined up against the wall that were stacked with all sorts of metals and spare parts. My name is Lu Qian. I'm the boss here. You can call me Sister Qian, introduced the woman. Sister Qian, Han Xiao greeted. He then inquired, I wish to take up apprenticeship here. Are there any requirements? Tell me your situation, replied Lu Qian. Her first impression of Han Xiao was quite favorable. She particularly liked the dead look in his eyes. They made Han Xiao look like he was a bum. He will probably be content with a low wage, she thought to herself. I come from afar. My name is Han Xiao. I'm 21 years old, and I have some basic mechanics skills. You can call me Technician Han. Technician Han? A puzzled look appeared on Lu Qian's face. From afar. Meaning you're not a student of the Western Capital School. The Western Capital School was an elite school that only a select few could enroll in. It followed a special syllabus based on the knowledge given to Aquamarine by the galactic civilization. Their students were taught pugilist and mechanic knowledge. Many of its graduates went on to become important figures in Star Dragon. However, as less than 1 in 10,000 people possessed superpowers, having guidance did not make it easier to awaken them. I've only learnt some basic mechanic theory, Han Xiao replied humbly. That's a pity, bemoaned Lu Qian. Sorry, I didn't mean it that way, she hastily added. It's fine. Anyway, I still need to test you. I do need a helper, but you will have to meet my criteria first. Lu Qian went to fetch a faulty household appliance back to test Han Xiao. Before Han Xiao could begin, the shorter old man at the chessboard suddenly spoke. Kid, why did you come here? Lu Qian frowned in puzzlement. Wasn't it just to find work? Han Xiao looked at the old man and replied, I'm just looking for a job. For some reason, his reply upset the old man, and he flipped the chessboard. I am the owner of this shop. Pass my test, and I will allow you to stay. Oi, old man Lu, You're being a sore loser again, erupted the tall old man. I have something important to do, stated Old Man Lu matter-of-factly. Shameless, replied the tall old man exasperatedly. Star Dragon Strategic Defense Division, also known as Division 13. Han Zhao's mind was racing. Old Man Lu was none other than the key character in the secret quest line, and Han Xiao had come here to meet him. However, what Han Xiao had not expected was running into the tall old man here. This old man was an important figure in Star Dragon, and Han Xiao knew that there was no point in trying to hide his identity from him. Han Zhao's original plan had been to gain Division 13's trust before revealing himself. He intended to do so by feeding them with anonymous intel on the Germinal organization. However, that was no longer possible. To have to reveal himself to Division 13 so soon had certainly not been a part of Han Zhao's calculations. But Han Xiao was not rigid in his thinking. Since remaining hidden was no longer an option, he might as well reveal himself and demonstrate his value to them. Like they say, the enemy of an enemy is a friend. Han Xiao and Star Dragon shared common ground. Fortunately, he was now in the city. If he had been exposed before entering, it would have put himself in an unfavorable position to negotiate. Furthermore, the unexpected turn of events might prove to be a good thing instead. The tall old man was extremely influential, so gaining his trust would give him quite the head start. What test? He asked Old Man Lu in response. Old Man Lu looked around as he tried to come up with something. Suddenly his eyes lit up. Pointing towards the tall old man's missing arm, he said, "Make him a prosthetic limb. If it satisfies him, you pass. Why drag me into this?" The tall old man was confused, but he quickly understood Old Man Lu's intentions from his subtle winks. "Grandpa, you're too much. What if you scare him away? Every day, all you do is drink, play chess, and go for strolls. When was the last time you actually bothered to help out with the business? Can't I even get a helper?" Lu Qian was disgruntled, but her words fell on deaf ears. Old Man Lu ignored her as he looked at Han Xiao for a reply. For some reason though, Han Xiao seemed amused. "Are you sure you want me to make a prosthetic arm that satisfies him?" he asked to clarify. "If you're scared, then leave. I accept." Han Xiao happily agreed to the task. He still had the bionic arm blueprints that sat gathering dust in his inventory. Not only was Old Man Lu's request too simple for Han Xiao, it even presented him with the opportunity to curry favor with the tall old man. For some reason, everything seemed to be going well for Han Xiao, as though someone was looking out for him. "You only have 3 hours. I don't have the time to wait an entire day," Old Man Lu snorted. "Grandpa!" Lu Qian exclaimed in protest. Creating a bionic limb was not a straightforward task. Measurements first had to be taken, followed by designing, and lastly crafting. Designing alone would take hours, and while using a workbench would speed up much of the crafting process, that would still take another 2 hours. It was completely unfair. However, Han Xiao was not flustered at all. He whipped out a measuring tape and asked the tall old man politely, "Senior, may I?" The tall old man removed his outerwear without fuss. He observed Han Xiao thoughtfully as his measurements were taken. To remain calm and confident despite being pressed so was praiseworthy, he thought. But why would the Germinal organization lay $1 million bounty on him? Yes, the tall old man indeed recognized Han Xiao. The Germinal organization's issuing of a bounty had caused a huge commotion in the underworld, and this resulted in Han Xiao's face becoming well known. Such news did not escape his ears. "Looks like there's some corrupt guards again," he concluded from Han Xiao's presence here in the city. Why did Han Xiao come to the western capital? Does he pose a threat to Star Dragon? These were the questions on the tall old man's mind. He decided to continue observing Han Xiao for now. While Old Man Lu did not know anything about the infamous Zero, he had his reason for wanting to chase Han Xiao away. A seasoned veteran himself, he was able to sense that Han Xiao had killed before. He simply wanted to avoid trouble where he could. "Looks like old Lu is leaving it to me," thought the tall old man as the pair exchanged glances. As soon as Han Xiao finished taking measurements, Lu Qian offered him her help. "Tell me your concept. We can draw up the plans together to save time." "No need. I already have the perfect design," declined Han Xiao unexpectedly. "Only 2 minutes." Lu Qian's eyes were wide with disbelief. Your bragging might even reach the moon. Old man Lu burst out in laughter. To come up with a complete blueprint in just 2 minutes was an impossible task even for him. What more a kid like Han Xiao? Han Xiao passed a list of the materials and tools he needed to Lu Qian, who swiftly went to fetch everything. However, she did not hold much hope for Han Xiao, as the test was simply absurd and unfair. Han Xiao started to use the pressing machine to shape metals into shapes and parts. He planned to use an aluminum alloy as the core material of the arm, as aluminum alloys were light, yet sturdy, but also easy to shape. Having parts like screws, rivets, and chains readily provided saved him a lot of time. Basic machinery affinity gave Han Xiao keen intuition for the composition of machines. For a second, it seemed to him like the parts themselves came to life, as though they were excited at the prospect of being assembled into a machine. A mechanic's affinity and skills with machines was extremely important. Each level in basic machinery affinity improved production quantity, as well as crafting speed by 1%. A top-class bionic limb could be operated simply by thought, and would be functionally indiscernible from a real limb. The prosthetic arm of the Winter Soldier was a strengthened version of such a limb. However, the installation of such a prosthetic would require surgery, as well as the control talents of basic electromagnetism and nerve integration. With cybernetics, it was possible to replace any part of the body, except the brain, with machines to turn a person into a cyborg that relies not on physical stamina and bioenergy, but modular upgrades and replacements instead. Although a cyborg wouldn't need to eat or drink to survive, and could live much longer than a normal human, the loss of one's human senses would gradually make a cyborg susceptible to manipulation, and eventually cause them to lose their sense of self. While this could be prevented by implementing thought programming and logic parameters to immunize one against external influences, they would then lose their freedom of thought instead. More advanced civilizations used this method to produce cannon fodder. A voice-controlled prosthetic could also be made with the control talent, basic acoustics. Mechanics were a multi-layered class that was able to utilize all sorts of knowledge to create different versions of tools for the same purpose. Presently, though, Han Xiao was not that far advanced as a mechanic, and his concept was very simple. He was using the lightweight mechanical arm as a model for his prosthetic. He planned to incorporate its dynamics and chains into his prosthetic for realistic movement. Unlike the lightweight mechanical arm, however, it would run on clean batteries instead of smoke-causing fuel. Old man Lu watched Han Xiao as he enjoyed a bottle of beer. He couldn't wait to see him make a fool of himself. As Han Xiao began to weld and assemble the parts he created, the prosthetic arm began to take shape. The others were surprised by the fact that Han Xiao did not create any excess parts. He had been thoroughly efficient from the start, which proved that he had actually planned everything out. My God, he won't actually succeed, will he? Muttered old man Lu, causing Lu Qian to glare at him. What a sly grandpa. Seeing them look so amazed almost caused Han Xiao to burst out in laughter. How could he possibly fail when he already had the blueprint in his memory? You have created bionic arm, left mechanical version, giving you 2000 EXP. Bionic arm, left mechanical version. Special item. A very realistic prosthetic, created using the principles of machine dynamics and suspension. Adjustable to suit the user's needs, it is soft, yet extremely durable. The polished metallic prosthetic took Han Xiao a total of 2 hours and 33 minutes to make. One look at its structure, and everyone present could tell that it was an extremely functional prosthetic. Everyone was shocked. He really made it. As Lu Qian covered her mouth in disbelief, a single thought came to her mind: that I've struck gold. This prosthetic will look realistic if you cover it with. Save the bullshit, let's test it now, interrupted old man Lu as he swallowed his saliva. Although Han Xiao had truly exceeded his expectations, his mind was still unchanged. The tall old man rolled his eyes at old man Lu and picked the prosthetic up to examine it. He instantly fell in love with it. It fit onto his stump extremely comfortably, unlike other prosthetics that had non-adjustable, rigid attachments. The reason that he did not like to wear a prosthetic arm was that they always got in the way of his movement. However, Han Zhao's creation did not give him this problem. It felt so realistic that when he moved it, it felt like he had grown back an arm. The elastic suspension enabled him to effortlessly make simple movements. Perfection. This was the only word that could describe how he felt about it. What do you think? Satisfactory, asked Old Man Lu coolly as he sipped on his beer. Lu Qian looked anxiously at the tall old man. The tall old man found himself in a tight spot. Should he help his friend? Or should he say his true feelings? Which was more important? This thing is excellent. I'm satisfied. Old Man Lu spat out his beer and glared at the tall old man as he coughed continuously. Weren't we allies? We had a plan. Since you like it, you can have it. Han Xiao was not surprised at all. The tall old man nodded his head and replied, I will remember this favor. Old Man Lu was flabbergasted. The arm was made with my materials. Did you ask for my permission? Then can I stay? Han Xiao turned to Old Man Lu and asked, his lips curling. Old Man Lu's shock immediately turned into embarrassment. As he turned around to head upstairs, he reluctantly replied, whatever. If you want to stay, then stay. Let's see how long you'll last. Lu Qian shook her fists in celebration. The tall old man smiled at Han Xiao before leaving the workshop. After walking out of the alley, he entered a black sedan car that had been waiting for him. The chauffeur respectfully passed a mobile phone to him. As the tall old man picked up the phone, his entire demeanor completely changed. He now looked extremely stern, a totally different person from the genial old man from before. The Germinal organization fugitive has snuck into the western capital. These are the coordinates, he spoke in a deep voice. Have the intelligence department monitor him for now. I have come into contact with the target, and will slowly find out his intentions. Unless necessary, do not act. Deserters of the Germinal organization were highly valued by the Six Nations, as they sometimes held valuable information. Unfortunately, most of the deserters were usually small fry. Han Xiao, on the other hand, was the first person to have a bounty issued for on him. It followed that it was highly likely that he possessed crucial information. In the workshop, Han Xiao turned his eyes back from where the tall old man had left. His performance should have let the tall old man know that he was not hostile, and laid the groundwork for a better relationship. There were 3 things for Han Xiao to gain from coming to the workshop. The first was that Old Man Lu kept a very comprehensive collection of mechanic-related basic knowledge. The second was that this workshop was a good place to hide from the Germinal organization. While the Germinal organization had spies across the 6 nations, they did not know every single nook and cranny. This workshop was one of the few places that they were not aware of. And even if they found it, there was Old Man Lu. Old Man Lu was far stronger than the current Gila. Although he appeared like some carefree good-for-nothing, he was actually one of the few Class D superhumans on the planet. On beginner planets in version 1.0, the strongest superhumans were only Class C. There was a lot of discussion regarding why mechanics were a superhuman class, such as, if mechanics were limited to a normal human standards, it would restrict their inventions by over 90%. And only a superhuman can use some of the stronger machines they make. At higher levels, there were stricter requirements for using the machines that mechanics made. Some of them were even not usable by the other 4 classes, but only by mechanics. Mechanics were not all about big guns and giant robots. A high-level mechanic could specialize in one of many things. They might prefer to wield swords, specialize in assassination, or even pilot mobile suits. These were but a few of the endless possibilities that the class had to offer. The official information described the class as such, masters of combat machinery and compaction. Well balanced. After learning compression technology and spatial technology, mechanics would be able to disassemble and compress huge machinery into small capsules that they could activate whenever they wanted to reassemble them instantaneously. After learning certain skills like rapid assembly, mechanics with a large amount of energy would be able to create machines on the fly without the need for tools or equipment. All they needed was sufficient energy and necessary materials, and they would be able to bypass the creation process and instantaneously create whatever they needed. Player inventories were weight realistic, and with these abilities, mechanics were the only class apart from mages and telekinetic espers, to be able to disregard weight constraints. The third reason that Han Xiao had come to the workshop was the most important one, for the secret storyline. Its rewards were some blueprints of early-level godly equipment. In the future, Old Man Lu would leave the workshop and leave behind a digital safe that contained these blueprints. He would instruct Lu Qian to pass it to her father, Lu Cheng, who was a warlord amongst the Wanderers. He and his father, Old Man Lu, were always on bad terms. Back in the game, a player managed to complete the tedious quest line and obtain the password to the safe. He then had to painstakingly search for the necessary materials to craft those equipment. However, it all proved worth it. With just that equipment, he was able to dominate the PvP arena and set the highest record of 38 continuous victories. While all that time and effort was certainly worth it for that player, Han Xiao didn't have to go through the entire quest line, as he already knew the password. Although the secret quest line was a competitive quest, and only one person could complete it, other players that attempted it also learnt the password to the safe. Since it was not a big deal, the password was posted alongside information to the quest line in various forums. Still, the storyline only occurred after release, so there was still plenty of time before then. Han Xiao intended to foster a good relationship with them first. For the godly equipment, I'll explain your apprenticeship. Your meals and accommodation will be provided for. There is an unused room on the second floor. Your job scope will consist of helping out with maintenance work, as well as orders. I'll pay you $1,000 a month, is that fine? Lu Qian looked at Han Xiao nervously. She knew that he was skilled, but she truly did not have the money to offer him a higher salary. I accept, said Han Xiao without hesitation, at which she rejoiced. On the second floor was a full apartment complete with a living room, a kitchen and several bedrooms. Lu Qian brought Han Xiao to his bedroom. It was furnished simply with a wooden bed, a wardrobe, a bookshelf and a small workspace. This is now your room, said Lu Qian happily as she passed the key to Han Xiao and began to dust the area. She really couldn't be any happier. $1,000 was a very small amount of money, not even enough for an average person's monthly meal expenses. Han Xiao was a steal. I must treat this kid well so he won't run away, she thought to herself. Han Xiao didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Shouldn't the job applicant be the nervous one, instead of the boss? Lu Qian left after tidying up the room. Han Xiao climbed onto the bed and closed his eyes. Now he had to wait for Division 13 to approach him. I am not strong enough yet. Han Xiao understood that he couldn't just rely on Star Dragon to deal with the Germinal organization. He had to become much stronger in order to be able to take matters into his own hands. In any case, for now, he also had to be strong enough to gain Division 13's special attention. Since there were neither quests to do, nor monsters to hunt, the only way to get stronger now was through crafting. Han Xiao would need money to make machines, so he planned to find some way to make extra income. The city provided him with many opportunities. His long journey had only just begun. With only 6 months left to launch, he had to treasure the remaining time. After resting for a while, Han Xiao returned downstairs. Lu Qian was working on a household appliance at the workbench. Her denim shorts truly accentuated her perky curves, and Han Xiao couldn't help but steal glances at those slender, long legs of hers. The orders are in the drawer, she said to Han Xiao as she wiped her sweat with a towel. The workshop didn't see much business, and most of the orders were advance orders. Han Xiao picked out a few easy ones and began working. At 7 p.m. they closed for the day. Lu Qian changed into a comfy white dress and let her hair down, giving her the air of a kind, beautiful sister. There were patches sewn onto her dress, implying that they weren't doing so well financially. Han Xiao wondered if the reason she wore so little during work was if she was saving fabric. Old Man Lu finally showed his face for dinner. Let's eat. Old Man Lu with his long and messy hair certainly did not seem the type of person to do household chores. Their meals were indeed always prepared by Lu Qian. Han Xiao picked up a piece of char siu one with his chopsticks and placed it in his mouth. It was fatty but not oily, and was extremely tasteful. Han Xiao was visibly delighted. Delicious, right? Smiled Lu Qian in glee. Now this is proper food. What the hell have I been eating for the past 6 months? There's still a lot, so eat slowly, she added, pleased by the sight of his voracious appetite. As they continued eating, Old Man Lu suddenly asked, "Who exactly are you?" Han Xiao, stopping his chopsticks in midair, replied, "I'm just an ordinary person. Do you think you can deceive me with such a blatant lie, kid? Tell me the truth." The old man snorted. Han Xiao's eye twitched. "And what if I don't want to?" "Don't want to?" Suddenly, Old Man Lu tilted his head back, as he began to release a domineering aura of strange, wild melancholy that threatened to engulf Han Xiao. A look of seriousness appeared on Han Xiao's face. Twisting, he leapt backwards 5 meters, raising his arms in a cross-shaped guard to defend himself. Old Man Lu's eyes narrowed. "I have a skill that can kill the target's very soul in an instant. Do you want to test it?" he asked. "Does such a godly skill really exist?" Han Xiao's face began to pale. "The level of strength I have attained cannot be comprehended by the likes of you." Old Man Lu snorted in reply. Suddenly, a black, stormy cloud arose from behind Lu Qian. Lightning crackled and thunder roared. Wearing the same usual smile that she always displayed, she tapped the table with her chopsticks and ordered plainly, "Sit down and eat." The duo instantly returned to their original positions and continued eating, as though nothing had happened at all. The western capital was vast, comprising of 8 districts and 3 citadels interconnected by military roads. District 1 was the central district, and the western capital's seat of government. Regular citizens were not allowed inside. Although the 6 nations were united against the germinal organization, they still remained competitive with one another. After all, alliances were only temporary. The assassination of important figures occurred frequently amongst the 6 nations. And although they would always blame these incidents on the germinal organization or other dangerous individuals, the governments knew that 70% of them were each other's doing. The germinal organization, the Wanderer's Army, intelligence agencies and brokers, illegal arms dealers, individual criminals, mercenary assassins, hackers, and other kinds of shady groups comprised the planet's underworld. Dragonhorn Tower was the central building of the government, where the top brass operated from. Its walls were reputed to be strong enough to repel intercontinental missiles. The headquarters of a secret department was situated below Dragonhorn Tower. Beneath Dragonhorn Tower, at an undisclosed basement level, was the Stardragon Strategic Defense Division. Dozens of screens hung from the wall, displaying countless data and information. Intelligence agents typed away at their keyboards while even more bustled around. This place was the central network of the government, where information was filtered and channeled. Division 13 served not only as Stardragon's ears and eyes, but also as a hidden knife. Reporting, Zero has been located. A gentle-looking bespectacled female secretary hastily knocked open the office door of the department's director. A stern-faced man was seated behind the desk. Drool could be seen on the corner of his mouth. "Speak," he said in a low voice. "Director, were you secretly taking a nap again?" The bespectacled secretary squinted at him. "Cut the crap." The intelligence director glared back. "Talk." Zero is currently hiding in a machinery maintenance shop in District 7. The director swiveled away from his secretary, and she could hear him sigh in contemplation with his back faced towards her. After a moment, he turned around to face her again and said, "The higher-ups want to adopt a friendly approach. You just turned back to wipe your drool, right? I really regret promoting you." The secretary pushed her glasses up and ignored him. "How exactly should we proceed? Since Zero came to the Western capital alone, he must want to cooperate. Activate protection protocol immediately. We must not let Germinal's agents learn of his presence here. Have the hackers intercept any news of his trail and prevent leaks. Also send an undercover agent to check him out. He might just be a spy they sent. Get confirmation before making direct contact. A traitor worth a $1 million bounty. There are 2 possibilities. Either he possesses important information, or he possesses great power. For now, we are unable to ascertain how dangerous he might be, so proceed with utmost caution. I don't want a repeat of what happened with Black Spider. 2 streets bombed, yet we failed to apprehend him. I was scolded for 2 whole hours by the minister as a result of that. As the workshop wasn't that busy, Han Xiao had quite a lot of free time to look for the extra income he needed. Caro Junkyard, the biggest disposal ground in District 7. Here endless piles of trash were sorted out every day. This place fell under the territory of an underworld boss known as Big Raccoon. Where there is light, there will be shadows. Such is society. And this holds all the more true in times of chaos. Although the Western capital was the main capital of Star Dragon, it was certainly not a holy sanctuary for the law-abiding. It was infiltrated with spies from other nations, and plagued by criminal networks and illegal businesses. Small-time bosses like Big Raccoon may have been infamous, but they were certainly not the key players. As Han Xiao entered the junkyard with a dust mask on, he was stopped by a few vicious-looking thugs. "Kid, you're in the wrong neighborhood." A bald, muscular thug blocked Han Xiao's path as he stared him down. To them, Han Xiao with his small frame looked like an easy target to bully. Han Xiao unfazed spoke. "I want to see Raccoon." The thugs instantly burst out in laughter. "We don't have time to play with you, kid. Run home to Mummy, or I'll break your legs," threatened the bald thug. "Is that what Raccoon teaches his dogs to say?" "What did you say?" The bald thug was enraged. He began to grab Han Xiao by the collar. Han Xiao looked back at the thug calmly as he squeezed his wrist. The pain caused the thug to let go of his grip, and when he looked at his wrist, he found that there were already bruise marks on them. "Friend, which gang are you from?" The bald thug's expression had changed to one of caution. Suddenly, he paused to listen to his receiver and stepped away from Han Xiao's path, saying, "The boss wants to see you." Han Xiao followed the bald thug and was brought to a resting area inside the junkyard, where a thin man sat cross-legged on a sofa as he enjoyed a glass of red wine. From his appearance alone, it was hard to believe that this man was the infamous Raccoon who ruled the District 7 underworld. "I heard that you want to see me. What's your name?" he casually asked. "Technician Han," answered Han Xiao. The Raccoon sneered. "You should know what will happen to you if you're just wasting my time." The reason why he had agreed to letting Han Xiao in was that he was curious to see what business a snotty-looking brat had with him. Suddenly, Han Xiao reached out to steal the bald thug's gun. The bald thug felt a tug at his waist and turned around, but it was too late. The grunts behind Raccoon hastily drew their guns. "What's the meaning of this?" he asked nervously. The bald thug was one of his most trusted subordinates, and he was strong enough to take on 10 people at the same time. Yet, he wasn't able to react to Han Xiao's speed. "Who the hell is this kid?" Unexpectedly, Han Xiao began to disassemble the gun. But it wasn't a simple disassembly. The gun unraveled almost instantaneously, as if Han Xiao were performing some kind of magic. The disassembled parts fell and scattered onto the floor. "Firearms are a sure profit. I can help you manufacture them in exchange for a little bit of compensation. This kid can make guns." Firearms were hot in demand in the black market. Using a gun and making a gun were two completely separate concepts. Mechanics who knew how to create guns were rare and highly esteemed. Even though Raccoon was the leader of a gang, they were just small-time hoodlums. To be able to find a mechanic willing to make guns for them was inconceivable. Yet here Han Xiao was. "This is my chance," thought Raccoon. "What arrangements do you have in mind?" "I will make a list of materials and parts for you to gather. Manufacturing and assembly will all be done by me. I'll come here to work for 2 hours every morning. I want $1,500 per gun, and freedom to take anything I want from this junkyard." Han Xiao had already thoroughly analyzed the Germinal organization's guns. He was now able to easily make simple guns. "Since I'm providing the materials, $1,000, negotiated Raccoon. Han Xiao instantly turned around and began to walk away. This caused Raccoon to become flustered. He had only been trying to test out Han Xiao, and did not expect such a big reaction. Wait. We'll follow your charges," he hastily said. One handgun was worth $3,000 to $4,000 on the black market. Han Xiao's asking fee was still quite reasonable. "Get a workbench ready, along with the materials. I will come from tomorrow onwards. I'll go check the junkyard out now." A skilled craftsman always retained the power to dictate his terms. Han Xiao knew full well his own value. Furthermore, his true strength and identity was a mystery to them. This gave him the complete upper hand. Han Xiao salvaged quite a number of parts from the junkyard before leaving. As he left, he noticed that someone was following him. Clearly, Raccoon was trying to find out more information about him. However, for Han Xiao, shaking him off the thug was an easy task. Division 13 will learn of my mechanic skills, thought Han Xiao to himself. The fact that he was working with Raccoon would definitely be found out by them. In any case, it was a way to demonstrate his abilities to them. Plus, he also needed the opportunity to craft machinery for experience. The reason he had chosen Raccoon was due to the junkyard's proximity. When he returned to the workshop, Lu Qian questioned his whereabouts. I went to the junkyard, said Han Xiao, pointing to the big bag of spare parts in his hand. The junkyard? That place is not safe. Don't go there in the future. Lu Qian wasn't really concerned with what Han Xiao did in his free time, as long as he did his job right. In fact, she had a soft spot for people who did not demand high pay. Han Xiao put the spare parts aside and summoned the interface. He still had a lot of unused talent points, and he decided he would dump all of them into the 2 unlocked arms talents. This workshop was a treasure trove of mechanic knowledge. It was one of the best places to level up as a mechanic. Han Xiao went to look for Old Man Lu to borrow some of his books. He found him cooped up in his room as he expected. I wish to borrow some mechanic knowledge books. Go away, you. There's not a single book for you here. Don't be so petty. Think of it as investing into a promising young man and nurturing him. It seems like you are more thick-skinned than me. However, I simply don't want to lend you my books. What can you do about it? What, indeed, could Han Xiao do about it? The following day, Lu Qian entered Old Man Lu's room with a spare key and stole some books for Han Xiao. Old Man Lu was infuriated. Why do I have such a disloyal granddaughter? Just you wait. I will make you leave this workshop. In Galaxy, each player's advancement mission was not always the same. Han Xiao's LV-20 advancement mission could be counted as one of the harder ones as advancement knowledge was extremely rare on beginner planets. In fact, his advancement difficulty was actually comparable to a LV-41. Most LV-20 characters were usually unable to find basic knowledge for even one talent tree. Some unlucky ones would not even have a main class. Since there wasn't any advancement knowledge in the workshop, Han Xiao could only learn more basic knowledge. However, Han Xiao was content with this. Finding knowledge books was a common problem for players. Some players weren't even able to learn all their class's basic knowledge by LV-40 or even LV-50. Fortunately for Han Xiao, the workshop contained a complete set of basic mechanic knowledge, which more than gave him a head start. It was an expressway to the finish line. Intergalactic Contact Law, 7th edition. When coming into contact with new civilizations, these 127 intrusive actions are to be avoided. War, gene manipulation. This was why planet Aquamarine had not been given any cutting-edge technology. Advanced knowledge was the best that the planet had to offer, and even that itself was heavily controlled and treated as a top secret. Basic weaponry contained knowledge on how to craft simple guns and conventional weaponry. It also increased mastery in crafting speeds. Basic material composition was one of the core weaponry talents. The quality and grade of a product was affected by that of its materials, and many of the key materials for higher-level machinery were synthetic compounds that had to be crafted. You have learnt 5 weaponry talents. You have unlocked Novice Refining and Overload. You have unlocked the Blueprint Robot, Rover. Novice Refining allowed one to refine materials for higher quality ones. Any skills or abilities with the terms Novice, Beginner, or Basic were generally the lowest versions of themselves. Most of them would have more advanced versions. For example, Molecular Refining, that allowed the user to perform instantaneous molecular manipulation simply by expending energy. Materials were graded similarly to equipment. Of course, the higher the grade, the higher the value, but the 2 materials of the same grade could also have differing values. For example, a common iron ore was worth about $13 a pound, while a refined dark iron ore was worth about $45 a pound. Both were common materials. Overload active skill drains energy to temporarily increase the output of machinery by 30 to 50% at the cost of durability. If Han Xiao activated this skill together with his lightweight mechanical arm, Its damage and defense would both be significantly boosted. However, with only 120 energy, he would only be able to maintain the skill for 10 seconds or so. I've finally unlocked an active skill, rejoiced Han Xiao. Mechanics had so few active skills in their early levels that it was quite sad. His escape from the germinal would have been much easier had he possessed this active skill back then. The robot rover blueprint was an easy-to-obtain, early-level robot blueprint. It was a low-level utility robot that could be equipped with weapons and armor for combat, scouting, and defense purposes, and was also able to self-destruct. It wasn't created for a specific purpose, but could be modified and improved. They were widely used for prospecting and mining, gaining so much from just 2 talent points, a bargain. Suddenly, he noticed Old Man Lu creeping up towards him. What are you looking so excited all of a sudden? Han Xiao rolled his eyes at him, replying, Aren't you being a little too nosy? Nosy? Why? Old Man Lu took a moment to inspect himself. It's working hours. If you're not helping, then go away, interrupted Lu Qian as she slammed her welding torch down. Her face was flushed and dripping with sweat under the protective goggles she was wearing. Little brat, grumbled Old Man Lu as he carried his bottle of beer outside for a walk. Shop owner, is this a repair shop? A customer arrived as soon as he left. It was a middle-aged man. Han Xiao turned to look at the guest, and he noticed the man was looking at him. The man immediately averted his gaze. Suspicious, thought Han Xiao. When he further noticed his above-average sense of balance and solid footing, he realized that the man was most likely an agent from Division 13, who had been sent to test him. Lu Qian walked forward to receive him with a polite smile. Welcome. What is it that you need repaired? My car broke down, replied the middle-aged man as he watched Han Xiao. It's outside. All right, no problem. Just as Lu Qian was about to pick up her toolkit, the middle-aged man suddenly pointed at Han Xiao and said, I want this little brother to repair my car. Lu Qian was stunned. Do I not look capable enough? You're being sexist. I'll do it, agreed Han Xiao as he took the toolkit from his dejected boss. The pair came out of the alley into the main street, where an old sedan car was stopped by the roadside. This is the car. Han Xiao lifted the bonnet, inspected the interior, and swiftly began to perform repairs. As Han Xiao worked on the car, the middle-aged man tried to strike a conversation. Kid, you're quite young, aren't you? I'm 30. 30? Do you think I'm blind or what? The middle-aged man nearly choked. How should I address you? He asked. You should show some sincerity when asking for a person's name, replied Han Xiao without looking at him. I'm Feng Jun, answered the middle-aged man awkwardly. That's a nice name, complimented Han Xiao, except that he didn't sound the least bit sincere, leaving the middle-aged speechless. But you misunderstand. I just want a cigarette, he added. Feng Jun uncomfortably took out his cigarette pack and passed one to Han Xiao. You can call me Han Xiao, introduced Han Xiao as he took a puff and returned to the task at hand. Feng Jun continued to probe. Han Xiao, you're not a local, are you? Where are? It's done, Han Xiao suddenly interrupted, cutting his words off. What the hell? I've only just started to probe you. Can you not be so quick? Han Xiao expressionlessly stretched out a hand, saying, a pipe was broken. I'll charge you $60. Pay up. Of course I know the pipe is broken, damn it. I broke it on purpose. Feng Jun smiled as he took out his wallet and slowly fiddled around in an attempt to buy more time. You have pretty good skills. Where did you acquire them? Natural talent. Oh, that's amazing. Where are you from? From the countryside. Han Xiao raised an eyebrow. Are you trying to get a discount out of me? At his wit's end, Feng Jun coughed dryly before finally pulling out the money to pay up. Will the department reimburse me for this? He wondered. Han Xiao sneered. I thought it would take you another hour to find your money. How big is your wallet? As he whistled whimsically, he proceeded to pack up and headed back to the workshop. When he left, Feng Jun cheerlessly made a phone call. Initial observation concluded. The target is a mechanic, and his threat level is still an uncertainty. Duration of contact was 4 minutes and 38 seconds. The target named himself as Han Xiao. I suggest proceeding with more testing, and to avoid direct confrontation. My analysis of his character? Yes, extremely annoying. The next couple of days went by peacefully. Han Xiao's daily routine now included going to the junkyard every morning to produce guns. He was paid in cash daily after each session, and was able to salvage a number of spare parts for creating the rover. He had already begun to craft some of its parts, but was holding back on assembling it. Old Man Lu would occasionally lurk around to spy on Han Xiao as he worked. He was trying to figure out Han Xiao's background from his craftsmanship. However, because Han Xiao was self-taught, his efforts were in vain. The tall old man frequently came over to compete with Old Man Lu at 5 in a row, which Han Xiao found hard to understand. Is 5 in a row that fun? The tall old man also gradually began to converse with Han Xiao more, and Han Xiao was more than happy to entertain him. Everything was going according to plan. For mechanics, crafting rewarded the most experience, followed by enhancement, repairing, and lastly assembly. As Han Xiao had no way of acquiring advanced knowledge for now, he decided to use his accumulated experience points to raise the 3 skills of Beginner Machinery Affinity LV3, Basic Combat LV8, and Basic Shooting LV6, to close to max level, and he gained quite a number of talent points from this. The prerequisite for advancing to a trainee mechanic happened to be unlocking Intermediate Machinery Affinity, which required LV5 in Beginner Machinery Affinity. Machinery Affinity was one of the common prerequisites for many blueprints and skills. Although Han Xiao now had a whopping 15 talent points, which seemed a lot, it was always better to save some for rainy days. This was something that he had learned the hard way. To think I actually had to spend over tens of millions of anas, universal currency, just to buy water of lethe to reset my talent points back then. At Caro Junkyard, Han Xiao had been busily producing guns all morning. When he was about to leave, Raccoon passed him a stash of money that he pocketed without counting. That should be enough for today. I'll make a move first, said Han Xiao. Thank you for your contribution. We don't need any more guns for the time being. However, our deal is still valid. You can continue to salvage any junk parts. Now that Han Xiao had served his purpose, Raccoon planned to get rid of him. However, it was not time yet. Raccoon was an extremely cautious person. Fine by me, replied Han Xiao, who saw through his intentions. He left the junkyard, remembering to make a few extra turns to shake off his tail, before coming to a large mechanic market. This market was popular among students from the Western Capital School and the Mechanic School, due to the variety of machine parts and metals it offered. Han Xiao spent all of the 70,000 aquamarine dollars that he had earned to buy the remaining materials that he needed for both the rover, as well as another lightweight mechanical arm. After obtaining the materials, he returned to his room to continue working on them. A few days later, Han Xiao had finished crafting all of the rover's parts, and he was now assembling the robot in his room. 1.2 meters tall and armor-plated to protect its interior. Its top half was the shape of a person, except that it didn't have a neck. It ran on a basic integrated circuit. It had 2-section mechanical arms that could bend and rotate like a person's, and its fingers were remodeled by Han Xiao into guns. Its torso could also rotate 90 degrees, and was inlaid with magazine compartments. Instead of legs, it moved on tank tracks. The system prompted Han Xiao to name his creation. Adopting his past naming style, he named it Rover 1. Rover 1 tank style. Type robot. Grade common. Basic stats. 800 durability, 18 defense, 59 power output, 23 max speed, 120 energy. Height, 1.18 meters. Weight, 64.8 kilograms. Mode of control, remote electrical signal. Control radius, 50 m. Energy source, battery unit. Energy usage, 8 per minute. Power capacity, 36 of 80 ona. Right arm module, small caliber machine gun, 35 to 40 dmg. For firing speed max 7 for 10 seconds. 30 magazine capacity, plus 60 belt capacity. 40 power output, 18% accuracy. Left arm module, small caliber machine gun, 35 to 40 dmg. For firing speed, max 7 for 10 seconds. 30 magazine capacity, plus 60 belt capacity. 40 power output, 18% accuracy. Skills. Self-destruct. Self-destruct to inflict 280 to 430 explosion damage in a 30 m radius. Metal armor reduces damage taken by 8%, except penetrative attacks. Note: don't underestimate this little fella just because he looks stupid. The name, Rover, is not exclusive to one type of robot. The key materials used to craft Rover 1 were two common materials: steel and plastic resin. If Han Xiao had used a higher quality steel alloy, Rover 1 would have higher durability and defense. Nevertheless, he would be able to update or upgrade the rover with better parts when he got them to keep it relevant. This was a selling point of mechanics. The number of modules that could be installed on robots, vehicles, and mobile suits was limited by their energy capacity. Beside the quality of the energy source itself, energy capacity could be upgraded by energy talents. Rover 1's energy source was a standard battery unit, so its energy capacity was low. Completing the rover rewarded Han Xiao with 24,000 EXP. The following day, Han Xiao finished crafting the lightweight mechanical arm. You have crafted lightweight mechanical arm left, gaining 2,500 EXP. His second lightweight mechanical arm was still a left arm, like before. However, the materials he had used to craft it were lower in quality than before, causing it to have a lower grade. Lightweight mechanical arm left. Grade common. Base stats: 28 to 45 damage, 8 to 12 defense, 26 power output, 205 durability. Prerequisites: 23 STR. Bonus stats: -4 attack speed. Length: 0.51 m. Weight: 6.1 kilograms. Additional effects: bonus +6 STR. Currently, Han Xiao's strongest form of combat was melee combat, so the lightweight mechanical arm suited him well. Mechanics that favored melee combat were known as mecha warriors. Han Xiao did not intend to walk down this path, as it was long-range capabilities that mechanics truly excelled in, after all. However, since mecha warriors was the style that offered low-level mechanics the highest combat prowess, it would have to do for now. Han Xiao hid the lightweight mechanical arm before heading downstairs. Lu Qian was engaged in a conversation with a customer who kept on glancing at Han Xiao when he appeared. He was clearly yet another agent from Division 13. Division 13 had, over the past few days, sent many undercover agents to spy on Han Xiao. But since Han Xiao was a tough nut to crack, they were now attacking from a different angle. "Why are there so many people asking about you?" asked a puzzled Lu Qian when the agent left. "Well, I'm popular. But they're all guys." Han Xiao froze up. "It's not what you think, Dash. Don't worry. I won't judge you," replied Lu Qian as she started giggling. "Why are you giggling like that?" Suddenly, Han Xiao's turned serious. He had received a system alert. "You have triggered the classy mission. Assailants. Accept/reject." Han Xiao was bewildered. What could have triggered such a mission? Accept. Mission synopsis. The bounty on your head is being eyed. Your enemies are near, and they are hiding in the shadows. Meanwhile, a certain group of people has been watching you to assess your potential. What will you do? Requirement: avoid death. Reward: 10,000 experience. Bonus reward: 1x skill level up card basic. Han Xiao rolled his eyes at the dramatic synopsis. The group of people referred to in the synopsis most definitely referred to Division 13. Han Xiao put the clues together and conjectured that Division 13 could have leaked intel on him in an elaborate setup to test his combat strength. However, if that were the case, the people after him must not be too strong. After all, Division 13 wouldn't risk things blowing up in the city. Although Han Xiao wasn't interested in typical classy mission rewards, the bonus reward caught his eye. A skill level up card was certainly something handy to have. If a mission had a bonus reward, it meant that there was a secret condition to fulfill. Han Xiao guessed that this mission's secret condition was most likely to kill all of his assailants. Since the enemy could appear at any moment, I'd better not stay in the workshop. Han Xiao didn't want to rely on Old Man Lu. After contemplating for a moment, he thought of the perfect location for battle. Caro Junkyard. Caro Junkyard was Raccoon's territory. Han Xiao planned to kill two birds with one stone. He put down his tools and called out to Lu Qian with a request. I wish to take the day off. Okay, replied Lu Qian blinking. Is something wrong? No, why? Han Xiao paused. Han Xiao always looked lethargic and bored, and Lu Qian, being the observant woman that she was, had noticed the sudden change in air about him. If she had to describe the kind of feeling Han Xiao was giving her now, for some reason, dangerous was the word that came to mind. If you're facing any difficulties, I'll definitely help you, she said in a serious tone. Not knowing what to say, Han Xiao stared at her, which caused her to shift about uncomfortably. She turned away from Han Xiao and twirled her hair, saying, Don't you know it's rude to stare? Han Xiao turned away too and replied, I won't be back for dinner. I was actually thinking of letting you try my latest creation, black pepper pineapple baked ribs stew with parsley, responded Lu Qian dejectedly. Han Xiao shuddered. What kind of cuisine from hell is that? Han Xiao returned to his room to get ready. After a short while, he headed out with a backpack and a trolley. Boss, is that kid the target? A man wearing shades was tailing Han Xiao. Every time Han Xiao turned back, he would instantly vanish by making use of his surroundings, be it a public phone booth or a magazine stand. He was clearly a professional. He was using the mini receiver in his ear to communicate with his partner, who was hiding in an old van 2 streets away. There was a total of 5 masked men in the van. They were none other than Han Xiao's assailants. They were the Bee Sting Squad, a group of mercenaries who specialized in hunting bounties. They were decently well known in underground networks, having successfully completed numerous missions. They had by chance stumbled upon Han Xiao's trail. For them, this mission was more important than any that they had ever taken on before. Bounty aside, they were hoping to gain favor with the Germinal organization and earn their backing. How could this kid be worth 1 million? He looks so ordinary. This will be a piece of cake, said the number 2 of the squad, full of confidence. Don't forget that we are deep in Star Dragon territory. Act swiftly, reminded the leader Kelly as he inspected his gun. The target is on the move. A black, plateless jeep was following Han Xiao from afar. Inside the jeep was a team of Division 13 field agents, led by their mission captain, Li Hui. Besides him were 8 other fully equipped agents and Feng Jun, who was acting as an advisor. They were armed with tranquilizer guns. Just as Han Xiao had expected, his assailants, the Bee Sting Squad, were indeed being used by Division 13 to test him. And these agents were, in fact, tasked to play the role of hero. Feng Jun brought up a video feed of Han Xiao. The target seems to be headed to the District 7's Caro junkyard. The Bee Sting Squad is following him. It would be ideal if the battle took place inside the junkyard. Han Xiao arrived at the junkyard, to Raccoon's surprise. Why is he here? I've come to find some spare parts, Han Xiao casually lied. It was a reasonably convincing excuse. Raccoon then invited Han Xiao for lunch, assuming he would decline, but unexpectedly, Han Xiao agreed, causing him to be visibly caught off guard. Han Xiao took his dust mask off, revealing his face to Raccoon. Raccoon found his face strangely familiar, but wrote it off. Although Han Xiao was unquestionably famous in the criminal world, small-time crooks like Raccoon were, for the most part, largely irrelevant. Hence, they were often not privy to or bothered with the latest ongoings. Although Han Xiao had been wearing the mask to keep his identity a secret, it didn't matter anymore. A banquet table was set up by Raccoon's men. Han Xiao and Raccoon sat on opposite sides, facing each other as they conversed. How was the last batch of guns? The 73 Wasp is an excellent gun. Even the 6 nations' armies are using it. One of them is worth 6,000 to 7,000 on the black market. I've earned a lot thanks to you, answered Raccoon, as he puffed on a cigar. And the quality of your guns is way better than those shitty second-hand guns on the market. Although a batch of mass-produced guns wouldn't vary too much in quality, there would always be minor differences from gun to gun. These differences arose from the innate composition of the materials, but they could be minimized by a skilled mechanic. A gun expert would be able to tell a handmade gun from a mass-produced one. What's in there? Asked Raccoon, pointing towards the stuff bag and the push trolley. Some spare parts, replied Han Xiao. Raccoon was satisfied with the answer. They continued chatting until dusk arrived, and the sky had transformed into a gorgeous hue of orange and indigo. One of Raccoon's thugs suddenly ran into the room, saying, "Boss, someone is looking for you." "Can't you see I'm with a guest?" replied an irritated Raccoon. The thug whispered a few words into Raccoon's ear that made him look at Han Xiao contemplatively. He then got up from his seat and smiled at Han Xiao. "Please excuse me for a moment," he said before leaving. Han Xiao narrowed his eyes. "Something's up." "Half an hour ago, cousin, I traveled all the way here just so I could enjoy a good life under your care. Please don't abandon me," pleaded Ma Jie as he chased after a young man. He had come to the western capital intending to join his cousin's gang, but his cousin had deemed him unworthy and given him a janitor's position. Obviously, Ma Jie wouldn't settle for it, but what else could he do but beg? "I've told you before, don't call me your cousin," barked the irritated young man. Of course. My bad. I'll slap myself," replied Ma Jie, after which he actually slapped himself. "Just look at how pathetic you are. I let you watch the door precisely because we are relatives. Do you know how many wanderers out there have only spoilt food to eat? I'm going to see a big shot now. Don't follow me." "Big shot?" Ma Jie's eyes lit up. "Who?" "The boss of District 7, Mr. Raccoon. Each district other than District 1 has an underworld boss. Do you know how powerful they are?" Before the pair realized, they had arrived at the entrance of the junkyard. Ma Jie tried to follow him in, but the young man glared at him, causing him to give up. Just as Ma Jie was about to leave, he looked beyond the gates and noticed Han Xiao being welcomed. "What the heck? Isn't that the kid who sneaked in with me?" A thug stopped the young man. "Don't loiter here," he said. "I'm also one of the boss's men," replied the young man respectfully. "I've come to make a report." Suddenly, Ma Jie interrupted them. "Who is that guy?" he asked, pointing at Han Xiao. "Who gave you the right to talk?" snapped his infuriated cousin, who motioned to slap him. However, the thug stopped him. "That person is an important guest of the boss," he answered. "An important guest?" Ma Jie was shocked, but his shock was immediately replaced by jealousy and bitterness. "This is unfair. Why is that ignorant brat having it so much better than me?" Scenes from their conversation replayed in his mind, causing him to feel embarrassed. "You know Technician Han?" "Not really, but we did talk a bit when we were being smuggled in." The thug's eyes suddenly lit up. "Follow me. The boss will want to see you." Ma Jie and the young man were stunned. The duo was led to a room. "What do you want from me?" asked Ma Jie nervously. "Relax, it's nothing. That guy is a mechanic who knows how to make guns, and our boss has been thinking of making a move on him for a while. But since we aren't sure of his background, we haven't acted yet. I just want to know everything you know about him." Ma Jie's eyes lit up at the thought of being able to gain the boss' favor. This was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity that could allow him to surpass his cousin. He sneered and shot a scornful look at his cousin. "Who cares what happens to that bastard Han Xiao?" After waiting for about half an hour, Raccoon came to meet them. When he arrived, both Ma Jie and his cousin hastily arose to greet him. Ma Jie was so tense that he even knocked his own chair down. "You know Technician Han's background?" asked Raccoon. "His name is Han Xiao. He's a wanderer who snuck into the city with me. It was his first time coming here. He has no relatives. That's all." Raccoon's eyes twitched. The sight of the boss' displeasure made Ma Jie think harder to recall something. Oh right, he was empty-handed when he came here. His clothes were also extremely tattered, and he looked like a nobody. "Very good." Raccoon turned around and left. "Anything for you, boss," cried out Ma Jie after him. Raccoon paused and turned around to look at him. "I like you. Join my gang." Ma Jie's eyes widened with joy. "I've hit the jackpot." After Raccoon left, Huang Mao began to fawn all over Ma Jie. Their roles were now reversed. "Ma Jie, please take good care of me in the future." "What did you just call me?" scoffed Ma Jie. "Cool cousin." Both of them sure were shamelessly quick to adapt. Ma Jie put his arm around Huang Mao's shoulders gleefully. "Brother, may I know what boss intends to do with Han Xiao?" he asked the thug. "Isn't it obvious? We'll force him to spill out the blueprints for the guns before silencing him." "That's good then," replied a relieved Ma Jie. Less than 3 minutes later, Raccoon returned to the banquet hall. Han Xiao had left all the dishes untouched. Raccoon smiled. Han Xiao, right? Looks like you found out my name. Sensing the calm before the storm, Han Xiao stealthily reached for the lightweight mechanical arm in his backpack. Click. He equipped it. Although he had already intended to do battle from the start, Han Xiao still remained as vigilant as ever. He had learnt the importance of vigilance the hard way back in Galaxy. But that's a story for another time. Raccoon began tapping his fingers on the table. Hee. I've always been curious about your true identity, but it turns out that you're just a wanderer. I must say, you have indeed been very cautious all this time. So what? Raccoon's face darkened. Do you understand the situation you're in? Hand over everything you know about making guns. Why so cold? Cold? We were nothing more than business partners. Would you believe me if I said that I can slaughter all of you if I wanted to? Han Xiao smiled tauntingly. Raccoon snapped his fingers as he sneered. In an instant, the 4 thugs around him were pointing their guns at Han Xiao. Did you think that I wouldn't be prepared? What a joke. All of these guns being pointed at you were created by yourself. Other than Raccoon and the 4 thugs across the table, there were 2 more men standing guard outside the room, and there was little space for Han Xiao to maneuver in the compact room. Even if I tell you, you will still silence me. Raccoon laughed coldly. It was exactly as Han Xiao said. I do hope that you cooperate though. At least it will save you some suffering. And if I don't, I have some men who are good at things like torture. You will talk eventually. Suddenly, the air about Han Xiao changed as he decided to drop the facade. Do you actually think that you have me cornered? The sudden change alarmed Raccoon, but he shook his head. Even if you do have some kind of trump card in that bag of yours, do you actually think you can move faster than a bullet? What if I told you that there's powerful explosives in here? Raccoon laughed. Ma Jie's appearance had been, without a doubt, a coincidence. How could Han Xiao have made preparations? Who was he trying to fool? I don't know who the person who told you about me is, but he obviously knows very little. Why don't you try checking the underworld network to see the latest bounties? Raccoon frowned. How could Han Xiao remain so calm? And what was he playing at? Although Raccoon did have some power in the Western capital, he was actually just a small-time hoodlum in the grand scheme of things, too insignificant to partake in the matters of the underworld. Hence, he paid little attention to such matters. He must just be trying to buy more time. Why should I even listen to him? Since you don't believe me, wanna bet? Life is always full of surprises anyway. Now that I noticed, this room is pretty small, isn't it? Perfect for an explosion. First comes the blast, followed by the shrapnel. Then this entire place will be razed to the ground. But I guess that's fine, since we'd all have died in the initial shrapnel. Enough. I have no time for jokes. Stand up, or I'll fill you up with holes. Han Xiao shrugged his shoulders, sighing. Can't we talk things through? Fine, I'll give dash. Suddenly, as the last rays of sunlight dissipated, darkness descended. Han Xiao had been waiting for this. Virum. The mechanical arm roared to life, shredding the backpack apart. Han Xiao flipped the dining table, sending pots and plates smashing into Raccoon and the 4 thugs. Talk things through. Ha! As if. There were 4 thugs in front of him, and 2 behind. Han Xiao knew exactly what he had to do. He picked the table up to use as a screen and charged forward like an unstoppable juggernaut, holding the mechanical arm up in front of him. Crash! The 4 thugs were knocked aside like flies. Fire! Screamed an enraged, bloody-faced Raccoon. The 2 remaining guards began to fire. Bullets clinked and clanked onto the mechanical arm, causing its durability to plummet. A bullet found its mark, hitting Han Xiao in his shoulder and doing 16 damage, dyeing his shirt with blood. However, all it did was give Han Xiao an itch. Han Xiao's pain tolerance was extremely high, and his solid muscles halted the bullet. Han Xiao smashed the mechanical arm into one of the thug's chest. One loud thud, and he exploded on the spot. He then proceeded to yank the other poor thug up to use as a meat shield against the 4 thugs who had gotten back up and were firing at him. Gathering all his strength, Han Xiao ripped out the door from its bolts and threw it at them before running out. Chase! Barked Raccoon. Dozens of thugs throughout the entire junkyard were alerted by the gunshots, and they were rushing over to help. Caro Junkyard was Raccoon's main base, and Han Xiao had to tread carefully to avoid being surrounded. He looted a gun from one of the thugs he encountered, which made things easier for him. With his fast reflexes, as well as basic shooting and precise aim, to help autocorrect his shots, Han Xiao was able to always have the edge against the thugs in the battle of guns. If he encountered a group of them, he would tumble and duck and fire lethal shots as he evaded. The only limitation that he faced was ammo, so he would loot their magazines after each wave. The trail that Han Xiao left behind was bloody and littered with corpses, and Raccoon could hardly believe what he was seeing. Han Xiao had effortlessly taken out over 20 of his men single-handedly. However, there were indeed way too many thugs converging on Han Xiao, making it hard for him to take the initiative. Han Xiao hid behind the vehicle frame of a scrapped sedan, as dozens of guns were fired in his direction, their muzzle flashes lighting up the night. The bullet storm was deafening, making it hard for Han Xiao to even hear his own breath, and it was extremely difficult to return fire. Good thing that this is my territory. No matter what, he can't possibly make it out of this alone. Raccoon was seething with rage. I will make him regret ever being born. Suddenly, something unexpected occurred. Bang 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 bang. A submachine gun was being fired from the side of the battlefield. The thugs began dropping in numbers as their screams filled the air. Bee Sting Squad was entering the fray. Under the guise of nightfall, they instantly overwhelmed Raccoon's inexperienced thugs. Where did these mercenaries come from? Raccoon was scared shitless. Are they after me? However, the mercenaries suddenly changed direction and advanced towards Han Xiao instead, ignoring him. These mercenaries are after him. Raccoon stared at the unfolding events in disbelief. As a villain himself, he understood the simple fact that the stronger a person was, the stronger his enemies. The fact that these mercenaries were willing to risk exposing themselves in the capital to go after Han Xiao meant that Han Xiao must not have been an ordinary person. He thought back to Han Xiao's words. Why don't you try checking the underworld network to see the latest bounties? He wasn't just talking big. Who exactly is he? That's the sound of submachine guns. His mission target had appeared. Han Xiao was able to sniff out the Bee Sting Squad's location from their muzzle flashes. 300 m to the west, 6 people, 6 submachine guns. Han Xiao rapidly performed calculations in his head. The enemy's firepower was overwhelming. It would be unwise to meet them head-on. Lucky, I came prepared with my trusty rover. Han Xiao sighed in relief. He whipped out the touchscreen remote control that he had created for Rover 1. When activated, the rover's visual feed would appear on the screen. However, the display was currently reading out of range. Han Xiao had to get to within 50 m of the rover to activate it. Steeling himself, Han Xiao stood up and began to run back along his original path. He was instantly assaulted by submachine gun fire. Han Xiao made use of the heaps of scrap and junk to duck and take cover, advancing through the rain of bullets. Damn it! There's so much cover for him here, cursed a long-haired Bee Sting Squad member as he reloaded. He's faster than a bloody rabbit. Although their original plan had been to assassinate Han Xiao, they had decided to take advantage of the ongoing fight between him and Raccoon to mask their intentions. He's already exhausted. Go in for the kill, Kelly shouted out. After the earlier bloodbath, all of Raccoon's men were either dead or had lost all morale and were unable to fight. Seeing Han Xiao running so desperately emboldened the Bee Sting Squad, and they gave chase. While he ran, Han Xiao suddenly sensed danger and ducked down. A bullet narrowly missed him, severing a strand of his hair. After sliding under 2 more scrap cars, he finally came in range with the rover. Connection successful. Activate. In the resting area, amidst debris and dust, the cloth cover on the push trolley suddenly began to vibrate, and 2 red lights appeared from beneath it. The rover's eyes. The rover's engine started to whirl, and its wheels began to rotate as Han Xiao piloted it out of the resting area. At this point of time, the Bee Sting Squad had come extremely close to Han Xiao. Rover 1's defenses were not strong enough to take on the collective fire of 6 submachine guns, so it would be too risky to send him in head-on. The sole edge that Han Xiao had over them was the element of surprise, as they would never imagine him to have a robot as a reinforcement. Han Xiao surveyed his surroundings to find a suitable spot for an ambush. He found 2 scrap cars along the bee sting squad's path that were angled in such a way that the bend they formed provided a spot of concealment. Han Xiao piloted the rover to hide inside the bend. The noise from Rover 1's engine was masked by the ongoing chaos, and only Kelly suspected that something was off. The instinct that he had acquired from surviving through numerous life-and-death encounters told him so. Pausing, he said to his team, "Something doesn't feel right here." "What did you find?" asked the long-haired man. "That's the thing. I don't see anything." "Well, it can't be. The target is already cornered. He's dead meat." At this exact moment, his squad entered Rover 1's shooting range, and Han Xiao was quick with the command. Do-do-do-do-do. Hell rained upon them from Rover 1's fingers. The entire squad was wiped out on the spot. Kylie had managed to take cover in time, but he did not escape unscathed. A few bullets had grazed past his face, leaving him all bloody. He had been so close to perishing with his squad mates. What the hell was that monster? The long-haired man had also survived, but his condition was far worse. He had been shot in the abdomen and was bleeding profusely. Kylie could hear him groaning in pain. Suddenly, 2 red lights began to glimmer in the darkness, terrifying the duo who thought that some kind of savage beast was approaching. Paralyzed with fear, they could only watch on as Rover 1 appeared. A robot. Kylie stared at Rover 1 in disbelief. He regretted not trusting his instinct. What should I do now? Kylie's immediate thought was to retreat, but the long-haired man suddenly went berserk and opened fire on the rover. Die! 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 Clink! Clink! Clank! Clank! Rover 1's thin armor was slowly dented by the barrage. Seeing that his attacks were effective, Kylie and his other remaining teammate began to join the counterattack. Underscore 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 underscore. Rover 1 tank style has lost 14 points of armor. Rover 1 tank style has lost 17 points of armor. As Rover 1's armor was made with inferior materials, it was not tanky at all, and its armor integrity plummeted under the trio's assault. In just a few seconds of barrage, the poor rover was reduced to a useless hunk of metal. It couldn't be helped. As Han Xiao had to work with limited funds, all he had equipped the rover with were the finger guns. Damn it! Where's Division 13? Suddenly, as if in answer to his prayers, the sound of a marching troop began to fill up the night. "Disarm yourselves," someone roared out. "Quickly retreat," ordered Kylie immediately. The long-haired man emptied a final magazine onto the rover furiously before he relented. "Okay, let's go." However, right as they were about to flee, the rover suddenly started to charge towards them as it began to glow. Self-destruction. The deafening explosion set the night ablaze, engulfing the trio. About 50 meters away, Li Hui and his agents were shocked by the massive explosion. "Damn it," cursed Feng Jun. This was supposed to be a covert operation. He could already imagine tomorrow's headlines. From the moment that the battle between Han Xiao and Raccoon had begun, the situation had already gone out of control. The gunshots alone had already caught the attention of many civilians. However, as they were ordered to act only after the bee sting squad appeared, they could only continue waiting in anguish, and it was now too late. Han Xiao got to his feet and brushed the sand off his hair. Things were not over yet. Although the other 2 mercenaries were not as fortunate, Kylie had managed to escape the blast in time. He hastily scrambled to his feet to make a run for it when suddenly, someone other than Han Xiao began to open fire on him. The shooter was none other than Li Hui. "Want to steal my kill?" Han Xiao frowned. He had to be the one to finish Kylie off for the bonus reward. Han Xiao began to give chase, and he managed to intercept him effortlessly from the side. Kylie looked at the man who appeared before him with trepidation. The current Han Xiao felt like a completely different person than before. "Die!" Kylie gritted his teeth and raised his gun to fire. However, before he could pull the trigger, Han Xiao suddenly began to sway from side to side as he closed in on him like a veteran boxer. Flustered, Kylie fired multiple shots, but they were all either evaded or blocked by the mechanical arm. Not even a single one hit. Kylie was completely overwhelmed. By his estimations, no matter how strong Han Xiao was, He would at best be at the level of an elite mercenary. Only a superhuman could possibly move faster than a bullet. However, what Han Xiao was doing was equally frightening and hard to believe. He was predicting the trajectory of his shots from just the angle of the gun. It was a feat that only the most experienced of veterans could perform, and even throughout the entire mercenary world, there were only 2 he knew of that were capable of it. The look of disbelief on Kai Li's face amused Han Xiao. Compared to that time he piloted a mobile suit through the crossfire of entire fleets, this was just a piece of cake. Click. Kai Li inevitably ran out of bullets, and he fumbled to reload. However, it was too late as Han Xiao had closed the gap, suddenly appearing in front of him. Paralyzed with fear, Kai Li could only watch on in horror. He could hear Han Xiao's muscles bulge as he stretched his left arm back to prepare for a mighty swing. Han Xiao twisted powerfully, transferring all the force and momentum in his body into his left arm, as he unleashed a devastating hook, simultaneously shouting, "Overload!" Black smoke billowed out as the engine of the lightweight mechanical arm blared loudly, sending its gears and piston into overdrive. Its power was boosted by 30%, and Han Xiao smashed it directly into Kai Li's face. Critical hit. Crushing blow. Blood splattered everywhere. Kai Li may have survived a number of close calls, but he never stood a chance against this one. When Li Hui and his team arrived, they were greeted by a blood-curdling scene. Kai Li's corpse lay limp on the ground beside a blood-soaked, expressionless Han Xiao, whose mechanical arm was covered in pieces of flesh. Half of his face was illuminated by the fire, while the other half was grimly enshrouded in darkness. As experienced as these agents were, they were unable to remain calm. You have completed the E-Class quest, Hunted, gaining 10,000 experience. You have completed the bonus condition, Kill all 6 assailants. You have gained a skill level up card Basic. Accept reward, Y/N. No, selected Han Xiao. He could accept it later on. Don't move, shouted Li Hui after taking a moment to regain his senses from the initial shock. He raised his gun and pointed it at Han Xiao. Han Xiao calmly took off the lightweight mechanical arm before raising his arms in the air. 2 agents slung a black bag over his head to block his vision before leading him away, presumably to bring him to Division 13. About time, thought Han Xiao to himself. Feng Jun gasped when he looked around to see aftermath of the battle. 6 mercenaries taken out so easily. Is that the power of his machines? Go gather whatever parts he's left behind, and notify the police to follow up, ordered Li Hui sternly, after which they escorted Han Xiao to a car. Han Xiao sat in the back seat sandwiched by 2 agents. Although he couldn't see, he could sense that they were on their toes. Although 1 or 2 things didn't go exactly as planned, everything was still within Han Xiao's expectations. It was a quiet ride. The atmosphere amongst the agents was extremely tense, and only the sound of driving could be heard. They had been ordered not to converse with Han Xiao. On the contrary, Han Xiao had looked calm from the very moment that they appeared, which bewildered them. It almost seemed like he had expected them. Raccoon's face darkened as he looked at the aftermath of the battle. "Bring me a laptop," he barked. As soon as he logged into the underground network and clicked on bounties, he was greeted by Han Xiao's face. 1 million bounty. He's wanted by the Germinal organization. Raccoon's face instantly paled, and he slammed the laptop onto the ground in frustration. Damn it, he really did have a bounty on him. And it was issued by the king of the underworld no less, the Germinal organization. Sometimes ignorance isn't bliss. Now that the dust had cleared, Ma Jie and Huang Mao finally emerged too. Just the sight of the aftermath alone caused them to shake uncontrollably. Raccoon erupted with anger when they came to him. He kicked Ma Jie to the ground, screaming, "Damn you! It's all your fault. I will make you pay for this." Ma Jie clutched his stomach in pain as he shivered helplessly on the ground. "What did I do now?" Suddenly, Raccoon heard the blaring of sirens, and he turned to see 7 or 8 police cars arriving at the entrance. Humph, the ever-late police. Raccoon tidied himself a little bit before going up to receive them. He was not the least bit flustered by their appearance as, from his perspective, he was a victim, and he also had connections with them. But before he could say a word, the fully armed officer pressed him to the ground to handcuff him. Raccoon panicked. and as he struggled to break free he shouted, "What are you guys doing to me? I am the victim here, okay? I know you're Commander's secretary." "Stop wasting your strength," replied the officer plainly. "This is Division 13's order." Hearing Division 13 caused Raccoon's eyes to widen with disbelief. Division 13 was involved with important matters relating to the country's security. Why would they come after me? It must have something to do with that damned Han Xiao. Division 13 is helping him? Why, Germinal traitor. Division 13. Star Dragon. Intel. The truth dawned on him. They want to silence me. From the moment that Han Xiao had shown him his face, Raccoon's fate was sealed. He set me up. Realizing his impending outcome, Raccoon began to tremble in fear and rage. "Han Xiao, I curse your ancestors." Meanwhile, Ma Jie, shocked badly by the sudden turn of events, fainted and dropped to the ground. When the bag over Han Xiao's head was finally removed, he found himself in a bright room. It took a few seconds for his eyes to adjust to the light. He was seated on a cold metal chair in front of a table. It was a typical interrogation room, with a one-way mirror to Han Xiao's side. Two people sat across the table, Li Hui and Feng Jun. "Allow me to introduce myself. I am an intelligence officer from the Strategic Defense Division of Star Dragon," spoke Feng Jun. "This is not the first time we have met. Do you remember me?" "I remember," replied Han Xiao nonchalantly. "The man with the very big wallet." Feng Jun was speechless. "Can you not bring that up?" Division 13 Li Hui introduced Li Hui. Both his expression and his manner of speech were stone cold. Star Dragon's Strategic Defense Division consisted of 13 sections in total, and was referred to as Division 13. "Should we call you Han Xiao or Zero?" Feng Jun asked. "Whatever you like." "Cut the crap," interrupted Li Hui. "Explain why the Germinal organization has $1 million bounty on you, and tell us everything you know." "Why should I tell you?" asked a bemused Han Xiao. Li Hui laughed coldly in response. "What do you think this place is? If we want you to talk, you have to talk." "So what if I don't?" taunted Han Xiao. "Shoot me?" "Do you think I wouldn't dare?" barked Li Hui. "Enough, enough. Calm down. Han Xiao, you should know we are with the government. If you cooperate, we won't treat you badly." Han Xiao smiled and shifted in his seat to adopt a more comfortable posture before replying. "Good cop, bad cop. How outdated is this tactic? Can you at least try something different? I, for one, have a thing for pretty girls. Having to talk to two stern old men is such a turn-off. Service with a smile, understand? Come on, smile." Han Xiao hit the nail on the spot, taking Feng Jun aback. Feng Jun coughed dryly and communicated with Li Hui through a glance, who understood the message. He abruptly stood up in an act of anger and pointed at Han Xiao as he shouted, "This is not a place for you to try and act funny. I have the power to imprison you for as long as I want." "How scary," mocked Han Xiao before suddenly wiping the smile off his face and adding, "I'm from the Germinal organization. Threats. Do you think such things will work on me? Come on, you're making fools out of yourselves. If you want us to cooperate, sure. Show me your sincerity. Get someone qualified enough to speak to me. You two aren't." As Han Xiao finished his sentence, he tugged onto his restraints, slamming the chair so loudly that it echoed out in the tiny room. Feng Jun and Li Hui looked at each other. Their task was only to get a grasp on Han Xiao's position, and Han Xiao knew this well, which was why he was acting fearless on purpose to declare that he still had something up his sleeve. Suddenly, a deep voice was transmitted through the speaker in the interrogation room. "As you wish, I will talk with you." "Who are you?" asked Han Xiao as he turned to the obvious one-way mirror. "Division 13 Intelligence Director." "Do I qualify to speak to you?" "I guess you will do," Han Xiao nonchalantly replied. Both Li Hui and Feng Jun's eyes twitched. What a shameless person. The intelligence director let it slide and started to ask, "You just said that you are from the Germinal organization." "I was." Han Xiao corrected him mid-speech. "So, you have deserted?" "Yes." "What was your position?" "A logistics research personnel." "What did you research?" "Machinery and weapons." "You are lying," cut the intelligence director. "How can that explain your $1 million bounty?" Han Xiao smiled. He had expected this very question. "Rather than call me a liar, Haven't you guys already assumed that I possess some kind of valuable intel? Isn't that why you've been investigating me from a distance? He replied. Intel can indeed be used as a weapon, but only in the right hands. I left my trail exposed to prove my willingness to cooperate. I am not your enemy. The Germinal organization is. And they are my enemy too. Why should we even bother to cooperate with you? Asked the intelligence director in reply. Look around you. You are in our territory. We have all sorts of tools to make you talk. Xiao paused to smile calmly for a moment before suddenly saying, Message log. Galaxy calendar year 687, 14th of June. Signal location, planet Aquamarine. Destination, planet Blackstar's 8th base. The contents of this message are top secret. The intelligence director remained silent for a full 10 minutes. Li Hui and Feng Jun gave a start when they realized that although what Xiao had spoken of made no sense to them, it was clearly valuable intel to the director, who in turn had to go relay the information to the top brass for further instruction. After the long wait, the intelligence director spoke through the speaker again. This time, though, he sounded extremely serious. Are you sure? He asked directly. How would I know of Blackstar otherwise? Fine. The intelligence director was wearing a grave expression. If the intel that Xiao had given him was actually true, it was extremely crucial to not only Star Dragon, but the entire planet. Xiao smirked. He had obviously come well prepared. In the exploration era, there existed 3 galactic powers, who had been warring for tens of thousands of years. Although it took a long time, the 3 powers eventually came to an agreement and ceased their fighting. They agreed to work together for peace, order and advancement. The universe was extremely vast. It was filled with countless stars and far more life forms that thrived in every corner. Large amounts of data and information were constantly being broadcast throughout the universe via technology, and the amalgamation of the thoughts and wills of all life in the universe gave rise to a phenomenon known as the whispers of the universe. Although the universe did appear calm and static on the surface, it was in fact bustling with activity. All kinds of civilizations underwent the same phase, from admiring space to wondering if they were the only ones. In their hubris, they would conquer their respective galaxies before entering the vast universe, thinking that they were the destined ones, only to find that they were not alone, and definitely not special at all. The explored universe could be seen as divided into numerous sectors. For example, the Shattered Belt, the Ancient Starfield, the Silver Spiral, and the Sea of Purity, a sector comprised of dozens of star clusters, each containing numerous galaxies that in turn housed planetary systems or star systems that were number-coded, homes to the innumerable planets. Together, they formed the thrilling universal landscape of the game Galaxy. Shattered Belt Colton Group, the Garden Ninth System, Planet Aquamarine. This was basically Aquamarine's place in the vast universe. Its precise coordinates would take a combination of words and numbers, derived using complex math to describe. The interstellar power that had come into contact with Aquamarine was an advanced civilization of the Garden, the Kidolas. The Black Star that Xiao referred to was originally a part of the Kidolas, but they broke away in an attempt to seize power, and were now bitter enemies. The world of Galaxy was massive, and many powers and civilizations were constantly at odds with one another. A civilization's degree of advancement largely depended on its space travel capabilities. As the Kidolas could freely travel between systems without relying on wormholes or stargates created by even advanced civilizations, they were considered a galactic civilization, a few levels higher than Planet Aquamarine. If the Germinal organization had actually come into contact with Black Star and gained their support, things would be extremely grim for the Six Nations. An evil power like them paid no heed to the exploration rules laid down by the 3 powers. The Universal Treaty, currently in its 7th revised edition. The fact that Aquamarine had been contacted by an interstellar power was top secret information withheld by the Six Nations. Hence, the intelligence director believed Xiao to be speaking the truth, and this was what made him extremely nervous. However, the truth was that the Germinal organization had made no such contact with Black Star. Xiao simply made it up, because it was impossible to verify anyway. It was a sly tactic to get them to not only value him, but also take action against the germinal organization. Furthermore, it would help him complete his main quest, so why not? All the beginner planets were situated quite far away from each other. However, there were specialized galactic tourism services that one could get in touch with, as long as he had a device capable of interstellar transmission. They would automatically locate the transmission and come to the buyer. As long as one had enough money, even having a full tour across the entire universe was not impossible. After all, if players on different planets weren't able to come together, how would competitions and tournaments be held in Galaxy? Most game events were held on neutral or uninhabited planets. "Get me a map of Star Dragon and a pen," asked Han Xiao suddenly. Feng Jun went to fetch the items and put them on the table. Han Xiao picked up the pen and circled 3 locations on the map, saying briefly, "These are 3 of the Germinal Organization's secret bases in Star Dragon. Treat it as my proof of sincerity. You only know 3. Han Xiao rolled his eyes inwardly. "Of course not. But you can go check these ones out first. We can talk more after." "What are your conditions?" asked the intelligence director at long last. Feng Jun and Li Hui closely watched Han Xiao in anticipation. "I just want us to work together against Germinal," replied Han Xiao with a mysterious smile. "That's all," thought the director to himself. "I will relay our conversation to the higher-ups. Sorry, but you'll have to continue staying here for the time being." Click. The mic was turned off. Han Xiao frowned as he shook around his handcuffs. "Don't take too long. I only have a day off." The director, vice director, 13 section heads, and some other top brass of Division 13 quickly assembled in the conference room to discuss how to proceed with Han Xiao. Han Xiao possesses knowledge of vital information. With his help, we will be able to launch precise attacks on the Germinal Organization's bases. He is a mechanic and has demonstrated combat ability on par with elite agents. He is willing to cooperate. Read the intelligence head from a compiled report. "I believe that we can put some trust in him and work together," he added. After a few seconds of uncertain silence, the Internal Affairs Minister was the first to raise his objection. "No way. What if the intel he gives us is false?" Division 13 was split into 2 factions: the hardliners, led by the Internal Affairs Minister, and the conservatives, led by the Intelligence Minister. The 2 factions sat separately. "That is very unlikely," answered the Intelligence Minister. "He is a deserter of the Germinal Organization, and only stands a chance to live if he gains our protection. There is no reason to doubt his willingness to cooperate. For all you know, it could just be an elaborate act." The Internal Affairs Minister shot back. "I suggest we detain him and extract the intel from him by force. Division 13 doesn't need to negotiate with anyone. You are being ridiculous. Such measures are uncalled for. Han Xiao has already demonstrated his sincerity to us. What we should be doing is accepting it and working together against the common enemy. That is what a coward would do. You are the definition of brainless." Under the leadership of their respective spokesmen, the other members from the 2 factions began to engage in an exchange of insults. Although both factions valued the intel that Han Xiao possessed, one faction wanted to befriend him and work together, while the other faction saw him as a potential threat. The squabble looked like it was almost about to escalate into a brawl. The director and vice director simply watched on. The director was the person with the most power in Division 13, while the vice director was actually a bureaucrat tasked by the higher-ups to perform supervision. He was also referred to as the administrative director. It wouldn't be unusual for there to be power struggles for the director position in an institution like Division 13. But the vice director actually couldn't be bothered with much at all. Take now for example. He had been sitting still from the start without uttering a single word, as though his spirit had left his body and was on a tour of the world. He was probably even more concerned with what he would have for dinner later on. Well, if you consider that his ambitious predecessor had ended up mysteriously charged with treason, wanting to maintain a low profile was understandable. The director, on the other hand, was a dignified-looking man who commanded respect. He contemplated for a moment before speaking his mind. "Since you want to both cooperate with him and control him, Isn't there a perfect solution? Let's recruit him to the department. The bickering crowd instantly broke up. Silence ensued. The hardliners stared at the director blankly. What the heck? Absolutely no way. What if Han Zhao's motive was precisely to infiltrate us? That goes against our secrecy policy. The director suddenly bellowed. We'll settle it the way we always do. We'll have a vote. The conservatives rejoiced. Aside from the one neutral minister, each faction had exactly 6 people. With the director's vote, they would most likely win it. On the other hand, the hardliners were panicking. Suddenly, the internal affairs minister spoke. I think that the logistics department will suit him well. Not only will it maximize his usefulness as a mechanic, we will be able to keep him under close watch, since he will be inside the headquarters. He had already resigned himself to the inevitable. For once, the conservatives agreed with him. The logistics department was indeed the best option, as Han Xiao would be confined to the HQ. However, the director suddenly cut in. Since we are going to make use of his talents anyway, might as well assign him to the covert ops department. The atmosphere in the conference room suddenly froze. All the ministers turned and looked towards the neutral minister. The covert ops minister who had been in the middle of yawning. What? Me? Then it's settled, decided the director as he slammed the table. Words and actions may be deceiving, but motives are not. We'll let him join the covert ops department, after verifying the locations he's disclosed. The ministers all face-palmed themselves. Whatever makes you happy, boss. The vice director yawned to break the silence. Time to finish up already. What's on the canteen menu today? After the conference, the intelligence minister and the logistics minister proceeded to the logistics department together to examine the lightweight mechanical arm. They were interested to see Han Zhao's craftsmanship to gain insight on him. The personnel they had tasked with conducting the examination was Luo Xian, the ace of the logistics department. He was the top machinery studies student of his year at the Western Capital University and had been recruited directly into Division 13, where his continued excellence earned him the favor of his higher-ups. There were plans to transfer him to the covert ops department. He was flawless, apart from being too arrogant. Begin. Luo Xian began to get to work with the lightweight mechanical arm, but he suddenly stopped and reported, it's encrypted. Machines were commonly installed with encryption to prevent unauthorized disassembly and reverse engineering. The basic assembly knowledge that Han Xiao possessed came with the method to install such encryption. The encryption that he had installed would take an E-class mechanic to crack. Evidently, Han Xiao had anticipated this series of events. Rover 1 was also encrypted. Not that it mattered, since it had self-destructed. Can you crack it? Asked the intelligence director. No problem, replied the confident Luo Xian. He didn't think that it was possible for an unknown mechanic to make a lock that he, a genius, couldn't crack. 20 minutes later, however, he had not made any progress, and was sweating profusely. 4-layered encryption? Is the bastard who made this machine crazy or something? A 4-layered encryption was extremely complex to crack, as the slightest error would cause the machine's internals to disintegrate, rendering it useless. Luo Xian was at a loss of how to proceed. The intelligence director's face had long since darkened. Can you crack it or not? Don't waste my time. Luo Xian suppressed his irritation and, through gritted teeth, replied, this encryption is too complex. I need more time. Enough. I don't have the time to wait for you. Just tell me your thoughts on the arm. Luo Xian's face darkened in displeasure, and he replied, frustrated, the craftsmanship itself is nothing special. Only the encryption was well made. Feels like the creator is some bumpkin who treats garbage like treasure. The intelligence director's eyes twitched, but he left without saying anything else. His men retrieved the lightweight mechanical arm. His next plan was to perform actual combat testing at the germinal bases that Han Xiao had revealed to them. He was actually more interested in the rover. It was a shame it was burnt beyond recognition. Division May 13th have been powerful and mighty, but one could never have enough new weapons. The research department is always allocated with the largest cut of the budget, yet those useless fools only know how to create useless crap like double-sided sticky bombs, curved guns that don't work at all, and fake nipples to hide poison needles. They even have male and female versions. The Covert Ops Department had borne a grudge against the research team ever since 2 of their agents were self-poisoned due to a wardrobe malfunction. Meanwhile, the director was making a phone call to the tall old man. "I have ensured that Xiao will join the Covert Ops team. Good work." "Thank you. Old man, is he really worth doing all this for?" asked the director curiously. "Haha, intel is not all he has to offer. I have a feeling that he will play a crucial role in the battle against the Germinal organization." Elsewhere, ruined skyscrapers crawled with vines. Below, the streets were cold and empty, and fragments of broken glass littered the line of stores. The stores were in an utter mess. Clearly, they had been plundered. A piece of yellowed newspaper from who knows what year danced about on the streets, carried by the faint wind. Moonlight filtered through the thick cloud of dust to lend the city some of its luster, the city's only source of light. This was an abandoned city. It had once belonged to a great nation, but even this great nation no longer existed, and its people had moved to other places. The living conditions here were so poor that even wanderers avoided this place. Countless other cities had been similarly abandoned over the last few decades of change. As soon as the people left, though, these forsaken jungles of concrete and steel became flourishing grounds for vegetation. According to Xiao's intel, the Germinal organization had 3 bases within Star Dragon territory. One of them was located here. The nation's top brass had been both shocked and angered to learn of the presence of Germinal bases in the country. Within 24 hours, troops had been dispatched from the nearest military bases to attack. Currently, the city was being bombarded. Over a dozen armored military vehicles had entered the city, and the sound of gunfire and cannon fire was incessant. Screams filled the night. However, the surface battle was just a diversion. 3 covert ops agents had been tasked to infiltrate the base. They'd just arrived at a side entrance. Li Yilin was an agent with level 4 clearance. A beautiful young woman with extremely fair skin. She wore a yellow hoodie on top of black compression tights that accentuated her sexy nosebleed-inducing body. She had an athletic build. Li Yilin held her hands up in the air as she stretched her back, demonstrating impressive flexibility in the beautifully arched, well-proportioned body of hers. She was clearly the most carefree and energetic of the trio. She stopped chewing on her bubblegum to complain. "I was finally able to take a break because of my leader's injury, but they call me back so suddenly for an emergency mission. Are agents not humans?" Lambert continued to polish his dagger silently. Lambert was the ace of a top-secret unofficial squad during his time in the military, and he had been secretly transferred to the Covert Ops Department after his discharge. He wore a military-style uniform, and on top of the dozen or so daggers strapped across his waist, there was a black sniper rifle across his back. This mission seems to be very important," stammered Xiao, a 1.7 meters tall man who looked extremely young. He was the hacker of this 3-man cell, and carried a bag filled with the team's tools. He was in the midst of hacking the door. It didn't take him too long. The trio exchanged glances before entering. Li Yilin led the front while Lambert took the rear. They hacked through numerous high-tech gates effortlessly as they made their way to the server room. The Germinal organization was very careful with its information. Once a base was compromised, they would cut off its access to their network, delete all traces of data, and activate an EMP blast to destroy the hardware. Hence, they had always remained elusive to the 6 nations, until Xiao arrived. The trio swiftly arrived at Basement 2, where the server room was located. Suddenly Lin Yao, who was monitoring the hacked feed, began to exclaim, "There are guards approaching from behind the..." Before he could finish his sentence, a team of guards appeared in their sights. Li Yilin was the quickest to react. She burst forward so quickly that the guards weren't even able to draw their guns in time. Leaping gracefully into the air, Lin Yilin performed a mid-air split to kick the front 2 guards in their heads, snapping their necks instantly. Her power was just as impressive as her flexibility. She landed on her hands and used them as a pivot to spin her entire body. Her legs began to glow yellow as she extended them while spinning, easily sweeping through the crowd of guards. Pugilist. The last remaining guard was about to call for reinforcements when a streak of silver flashed across the corridor. A dagger pierced his throat, ending his life. Lin Yilin and Lambert had effortlessly eliminated the fully equipped squad of guards. Suddenly, the lights in the corridor turned red as sirens began to wail. "We've been discovered. There is a large number of guards heading towards us. The base is being locked down," exclaimed Lin Yao. "Hurry up and hack the server room's doors." "I'm already on it. I need at least 3 minutes. But the guards will arrive in less than a minute. I can't bypass the firewall in such a short time." "Sorry," replied a profusely sweating Lin Yao as he frantically typed away at an unbelievable speed. Very soon, they could hear the sound of footsteps coming from both ends of the corridor. There was no place to hide in the corridor. Although Li Yilin and Lambert were confident of killing their way out, the mission seemed like a lost cause. "All right, didn't they give us some new equipment?" recalled Li Yilin suddenly. She hastily retrieved a long black case from Lin Yao's bag and opened it to reveal a metallic mechanical arm. The lightweight mechanical arm. "How is this thing supposed to be used? Did you guys read the manual?" "Slide your left arm through it and activate it with your thumb," replied Lin Yao hastily. "I don't know if it will explode though. I mean, it is the research department." It was well known throughout Division 13 that anything the research department produced was risky to use. "We don't have a choice." Li Yilin gritted her teeth as she slid her hand into the mechanical arm. The mechanical arm started to whirl. "I'm fine," she rejoiced, a look of amazement on her face. She smashed the mechanical arm into the steel door and discovered to her surprise that it had caused a huge dent. So she continued to throw punches at it. 20 seconds later, right as the guards arrived, the door was blasted open. The trio hurriedly entered the room. That was close. Li Yao immediately got to work. Digital lockdown was 57% complete. If he were fast enough, he would not only be able to make a backup of the base's data, but also use its access to hack directly into Germinal Organization's vaults. With the room acting as a fort, Lin Yilin and Lambert were able to put their fearsome combat abilities to full use. Li Yanlin glowed with a yellow aura as she swiftly and gracefully dispatched of the invading guards with a metal baton on top of the lightweight mechanical arm. Her blows were so powerful that they shattered the guards' bones through their bulletproof armor. Meanwhile, Lambert was throwing his daggers out from inside the room. They rebounded to find their marks with frightening accuracy. The pair was causing a massive number of casualties. Although the guards numbered over 100, they were unable to do anything. Suddenly, the network access and power supply were cut off, and the whole place turned dark. "Charge out," yelled Li Yilin. Lambert and Lin Yao followed closely as they battled their way out. Screams filled the base. When they finally escaped, Lin Yao collapsed feebly to the ground, still shaking in fear. Li Yilin and Lambert seemed accustomed to the sight. Li Yilin fiddled around with the lightweight mechanic arm. She had grown fond of it. "I wonder who invented this mechanical arm. Could it be that Luo Xian?" she wondered aloud. "Who knows, but I did hear that he is slated to join Covert Ops." "It's possible," conjectured Lin Yao as Li Yanlin gazed lovingly upon it. The battle lasted for 2 hours, and it was Stardragon's most successful operation to date. Not only did they destroy an entire Germinal base, they also managed to collect large amounts of data. The top brass in Division 13 were pleased, and it wouldn't have been possible without Han Zhao's intel. However, Han Zhao's past and the Black Star issue remained a mystery as the information that Lin Yao had collected naturally had no mention of them. The Black Star message log was fabricated, while the Valkyrie experiments were top secret. Back at headquarters, Li Yilin reluctantly returned the lightweight mechanical arm. "Was the mechanical arm useful?" her superior asked. Li Yilin nodded. "It's all thanks to it that our mission was a success." "Who created it?" "That I can't tell you." Yilin's eyes sparkled. "That will depend on the higher-ups." Li Yilin gave up with harassing her tight-lipped superior and headed to the logistics department to look for Luo Xian. The Covert Ops insignia on her chest ensured her smooth passage, ignoring the ongoing commotion caused by her very presence. Although all the departments in Division 13 were equal in status, the Covert Ops department was full of beautiful WMCOF, elite agents, so they were looked up to by all the other departments. Li Yilin suddenly turned around to the crowd following her and loudly declared, "I'm looking for Luo Xian. Everyone looked towards Luo Xian enviously, singling him out. Is Secret Ops here to recruit me? He wondered. Suppressing his excitement, he answered, I am Luo Xian. How should I address you? Li Yilin. What can I help you with? Asked Luo Xian. Are you the one who invented that mechanical arm? Mechanical arm? Luo Xian immediately thought of the lightweight mechanical arm that had caused him to lose face. Could it have malfunctioned? Luo Xian celebrated inwardly. Was there some kind of problem? He asked with a straight face. Nothing like that. I just found it very useful. I want to make a personal order. Luo Xian froze in embarrassment as snickers broke out in the crowd. He had been ranting loudly about how worthless he thought the mechanical arm was to the whole department. I didn't invent it, he replied with a forced smile. Then say so earlier. What a waste of my time. Luo Xian's face darkened. Suddenly Feng Jun, who had been passing by, came over and said, the inventor's identity is top secret. Please refrain from guessing or discussing it. Li Yanlin was startled. Top secret? As the crowd dispersed, all Luo Xian could think about was the threat that this mysterious mechanic posed to him. I will not let him have a good time if he joins the logistics department. Elsewhere in a secret facility, Boss Base 45 has been destroyed. By whom? Star Dragon. How did they learn of our base? Not sure. The Germinal organization's bases were scattered all across the globe. However, only a few of them were situated within the territory of the Six Nations. And those key bases virtually hibernated all year round to prevent detection. How could they have discovered our base? Is there a spy amongst us? Only a handful of higher-ups in the organization knew the locations of their secret bases. It would be devastating if any of them turned traitor. The boss decided that he would have to conduct a purge. Of course, Han Xiao did come to his mind. However, he ruled him out as it didn't seem possible for Han Xiao to have accessed top-secret information as a lowly test subject. Still, the thought of Han Xiao caused his blood to boil. It had been a while since the bounty was issued, yet there was still no news of him. You sure can run fast, but I'll squash you sooner or later. Enjoy your remaining days while you can. The boss laughed coldly. Han Xiao has been missing for 3 days now. Where did he go? Lu Qian was anxiously pacing up and down. Did he lose his way? It's all my fault. I should have gotten him a mobile phone. You said he's a foreigner, right? He doesn't even know this place well. What should I do? Be optimistic. Maybe he just died, consoled Old Man Lu. Grandpa, why are you so biased against him? Old Man Lu continued picking his nose leisurely. An idea crossed Lu Qian's mind. Grandpa, help me ask someone to look for him, she pleaded. You wish, snorted her grandpa. Huh? When you stole my books, did you remember that I am your grandpa? That's not important at all. I'm sorry. Forgive me. No way. You really won't help. I won't help. Suddenly, Lu Qian smiled shrewdly. Then I'll help you sell all the fine wine that you've been hiding underneath the floor in your bedroom. What are you talking about? Is your grandpa such a petty person? You just want to find him, right? I'll do it, I'll do it. Old Man Lu instantly changed his tune. Thank you, Grandpa, replied Lu Qian with the widest smile. Old Man Lu sighed. He proceeded to make a phone call to the tall old man. Oi, old man. Was Han Xiao taken away by you guys? You guessed. What did he do? He didn't do anything. We just want to work with him. If he didn't do anything, then let him go right now. Or else my granddaughter is going to ruin my wine collection. I can't. It's against the rules. Cut the bullshit. You are the one who sets the rules. You still owe me one for the last time, remember? I don't care. Just release Han Xiao now. The tall, old man rolled his eyes in exasperation. All right. I got it. Old Man Lu unhappily put the phone down. Why do I have to help that bugger? He sighed, reminded of his own past. Han Xiao had been living in a luxurious one-man cell for the past 3 days. He didn't seem the least bit worried about his situation. Instead, he was more concerned with getting stronger. He was currently consulting the interface. Having accumulated a total of 90,000 experience recently, he decided to level basic combat, LV8, to LV9 before redeeming the skill level up card. A glowing bronze card appeared in Han Zhao's hand. With a thought, it dissipated into countless light particles that entered his forehead. Han Xiao shuddered as a surge of energy welled up from within. When it stabilized, Han Xiao could feel that he had become stronger. Basic Combat LV10 Max. Plus 10% damage unarmed. Plus 2 STR plus 1 YND. Many skills gave stat bonuses at certain levels. The level cap is just the beginning, Although Han Xiao's character level couldn't be increased any further for now, there were other ways to become stronger. Basic Combat has been raised to max level. You have gained 1 talent point. Alright. I have 16 talent points now. Han Xiao also used some experience to raise basic shooting to LV8, leaving him with 20,000 experience that he intended to gamble on blueprints. While blueprints could be sold to other players for money and experience back in the game, NPC trading was monopolized by unions and guilds due to quotas. Of course, that was not a problem for Han Xiao now, since he literally had no competitors. He intended to develop a large clientele, starting with Division 13. Proceed with Talent Fusion, Basic Weaponry plus Basic Assembly, Y/N. This combination will use 10,000 experience. Confirm. Congratulations. You have discovered Foldable Machete. Proceed with Talent Fusion, Basic Weaponry plus Basic Material Composition, Y/N. This combination will use 10,000 experience. Confirm. Congratulations. You have discovered High Explosive Gunpowder. Han Xiao's eyes lit up. High Explosive Gunpowder was one of the better discoveries possible. Not only were its applications manifold, it was not hard to craft at all with the required knowledge. It had been one of the most traded goods back in the game. The Foldable Machete, on the other hand, was a disappointing discovery. As its name suggested, it was simply a machete with a foldable blade. It was clearly a weapon for beginners, and Han Xiao could have easily come up with something like this even without the blueprint. If only I had discovered some long-range weapon instead of this. At least I got something decent. Nevertheless, as it was something new to Aquamarine, it was not completely worthless. Just because all mechanics learnt the same knowledge did not mean that they would create the same things. Before Han Xiao had transmigrated, tons of discoveries and inventions were still being made on a regular basis. Granted, not all of them were practical, but they at least gave rise to possibilities. Han Xiao would have to make do and work with these 2 blueprints. During his time in the Germinal organization, he had managed to accumulate 60,000 experience. He would definitely be able to earn much more here in Star Dragon after joining Division 13. Suddenly the interface lit up. Class A Mission. Fall of the Germinal. Progress rate, 1.6%. Looks like Division 13 has made their move. Han Xiao was surprised by the number. Logically speaking, with how massive and powerful the Germinal organization was, even destroying one of their bases shouldn't have that much of an impact on them as a whole. In the game, the war between the Germinal organization and the Six Nations had mostly been a back and forth, with neither side being able to hold a clear advantage. There was, however, a point of time in which the Six Nations were able to corner the Germinal organization, and victory seemed all but assured. Yet, they were unable to end the war as the Germinal organization had a trump card up its sleeve: Protocol Doomsday. Hence, completing the mission would be impossible, unless Han Xiao could somehow shut the protocol down. The Doomsday Protocol was a last resort, and although it saved the organization from destruction, many Germinal members were disillusioned and swayed as a result. Most of the people who join the Germinal organization are people who hold a grudge against the Six Nations and believe in the promise of a new government. However, none of them would truly want to see the world burn. If I could expose the truth. Han Xiao shook his head. It was way too early for him to be thinking of such things. A few moments later, Feng Jun finally returned. He brought Han Xiao back to the interrogation room, where the intelligence minister came to talk with him again. The locations of the bases have been confirmed. We believe in your sincerity now. The higher-ups have decided to make you a member of Division 13. I did it. Inwardly, Han Xiao sighed in relief. Looks like getting on good terms with the tall oldie has paid off, he thought to himself. He knew that the tall old man definitely had a hand in this. And the department has decided that you will join Covertops. You will be assigned to a squad. What? Han Zhao's expression spoke of his grievances. The dawn of the new era had seen the loss of countless lives, resulting in a lack of manpower and talent. While this resulted in the Six Nations having to loosen their recruitment criteria across the board, the Covert Ops department could never be compromised. This definitely has to be the tall old man's doing, thought Han Xiao. Does he like me that much? Of course, being able to join Covert Ops was a good thing. Not only would Han Xiao be able to get to know stronger, more influential people, he would also be able to directly partake in key events that would occur in Star Dragon. The interface lit up. You have unlocked reputation with a new faction. Your reputation with Star Dragon Strategic Defense Division has increased by 300. Star Dragon Strategic Defense Division, Division 13 Neutral, 300/1000. Level 1 clearance. There were 8 levels of reputation. Hated, hostile, opposed, unfriendly, neutral, friendly, honored and revered. 300 reputation was net hero. Most factions required a friendly reputation to access contribution benefits. Feng Jun passed a black mobile phone to Han Xiao as he coughed, saying, "From today onwards, I will be your liaison. Never turn this off." "Oh, okay. It's not actually important, right?" remarked Han Xiao aloofly. "Why are you always so unpleasant to talk to?" It was a plain-looking phone with a plain-looking interface, and was only capable of making calls and sending messages. Han Xiao played with the phone in his hands as he asked, "It's secure, right?" "Rest assured. It's encrypted." "One more thing," interjected the intelligence minister. "I hope that you can give us your machinery blueprints, including the ones for the lightweight mechanical arm, and that rover you used." Although giving them the blueprints would earn him contribution points, it would also result in him losing monopoly over them. Division 13 would definitely mass-produce them. Han Xiao shook his head in refusal, and the minister simply shrugged. At the end of the day, what they truly valued was the intel that Han Xiao possessed. If he was unwilling to give them the blueprints, then so be it. "All right. What if an agent makes a private order with me?" he asked. "We have no rules against that," answered the minister, to Han Zhao's delight. Feng Jun proceeded to pull a black bag over Han Zhao's head once more. The car stopped, and Han Xiao was pushed out with the black bag still over his head. When the car began to speed off, Han Xiao removed the black bag, to find himself a few streets away from the workshop. When he looked up, he could see several glistening moons in the night sky. "TSK. Why all the secrecy?" he muttered to himself. Nevertheless, Han Xiao was feeling quite pleased for having accomplished his goal. He hummed merrily as he made his way back to the workshop. It was only when he reached the entrance that it dawned on him that going missing for 3 days would be hard to explain. Han Xiao stepped inside the workshop to see an anxious Lu Qian pacing back and forth. For some reason, she became enraged at the sight of him. "Why did you only come back now? Do you know how worried I've been? You're a foreigner. I thought something might have happened to you." Han Xiao put on his "did something happen?" expression and stared at her blankly. "What exactly were you doing? Taking a stroll? Can you at least try to come up with a better excuse?" "I thought it's quite a good excuse. A gunfight at the junkyard was reported on the news yesterday. I thought you got caught in it or something," and Lu Qian began nagging. Being nagged at did not irritate Han Xiao at all. On the contrary, it gave him a warm and fuzzy feeling. However, Old Man Lu appeared to ruin the moment. "You came back alive? How disappointing. I'll get you a mobile phone over the next few days. The costs will be deducted from your salary," said Lu Qian. "There's no need. I already have one," replied Han Xiao as he whipped the black mobile phone out. Although they had told him not to share the number with anyone else, screw Division 13. When he saw the black phone, Old Man Lu gave a start. He pulled Han Xiao away to a corner. "This is a Division 13 phone. You joined Division 13. So you know what this is?" "Humph. Since you've joined Division 13, get the hell out of my workshop. You can leave if you want to." "I'm not leaving. How dare you talk to me like that? Why would you even want to dash?" Old Man Lu suddenly paused. "Are you trying to woo my granddaughter?" he glowered. "No," Han Xiao hastily answered. Suddenly, however, Old Man Lu's expression grew strange. "Hey little Han, now that I think about it, my granddaughter is not that young anymore. What do you think about her? Han Xiao immediately stiffened up. Old Lu, as the saying goes, a stolen melon is not sweet. But at least you would have a melon. Besides, we need a boy to carry on the family name. Don't drag me into your family tree. Haha. Strike while the iron is hot. There is only so much I can help you with, he added while patting Han Xiao on the shoulder before heading upstairs, leaving Han Xiao utterly bewildered. Old people who want descendants are scary. Han Xiao turned around, and to his horror, Lu Qian had been standing behind him the entire time. She stared at Han Xiao with big, bright eyes that seemed to be on the verge of tears. This is a misunderstanding. J-jerk. Lu Qian covered her blushing face and ran upstairs. It's not like that. For Luo Xian, the next few days were restless ones. He was afraid that Han Xiao would join the logistics department and steal the limelight from him. When it finally got to his head, he went to find a director to ask about Han Xiao. His information is classified, the big-bellied logistics director, who always wore a smile on his face, said when he asked. All I can tell you is that he's joined Division 13. Luo Xian's heart sank when he heard the news. Will he join logistics or research? The director shook his head. Neither. He's joined covert ops. He'll start in a few days. The news stunned Luo Xian. How could some unknown guy who popped out of nowhere be directly recruited into secret ops? I've worked my ass for so many years, yet I'm still in research? This is unfair. 1 week after the junkyard incident, the underworld bosses of the 6 other districts gathered together to discuss an important issue, the disappearance of Raccoon. Through piecing together bits of the puzzle, they were able to uncover that Division 13 had a hand in it, and this shocked all of them. What exactly did Raccoon do to incur the wrath of the mighty lion? Raccoon must have offended Division 13 somehow. He is probably dead already, declared the boss of District 2, who had initiated the meeting. All of the bosses present had grave expressions. Although they usually acted high and mighty in front of their subordinates, they all knew that Division 13 could easily wipe any one of them out. They were really just small-time hoodlums. After all, the Western capital was the seat of the government, and they were just sewer rats hiding around. In fact, they could not even be compared to the intelligence and firearms brokers in the slums. At least those people had powerful backers. Who wants to take over District 7? Asked the District 2 boss. Everyone remained silent. No one. Although the bosses usually fought amongst one another for territory, none of them dared to take over District 7 without understanding why Division 13 had taken action. Fine. Then we will leave it open to new blood. Now that Raccoon was removed from the picture, there would definitely be ambitious people in his gang rising up to seize power. Of course, it was not that they were willing to let a new rival emerge. Instead, as the situation in District 7 was still unclear, they were just waiting to see what would happen. It would not be too late to get rid of the new boss, as soon as everything stabilized. Han Zhao's life in the workshop returned to normal. After a few days, he asked for an advance of his first month's pay to order some materials from Division 13. At present, he was examining a dark red bullet lying on his palm. It was carved with flame patterns. High explosive bullet. Causes an explosion in a 3-meter radius upon hitting the target. Although it was a very simple description, it was actually extremely powerful. High explosive bullets incorporated extremely flammable incendiary gels and gases that could ignite far easier than traditional armor-piercing ammunition. They would explode immediately upon coming into contact with air, and the bullet itself would also be consumed in the explosion, leaving nothing behind. The method to craft the incendiary agents was described in detail in the blueprint, and although Han Xiao was not able to understand it well, as he had not learnt basic chemistry, yet he was still able to craft it by following the instructions. From handgun bullets to sniper bullets, over the next few days, Han Xiao crafted dozens of high-explosive bullets. He also used some good quality metal to craft a 2.5 kilograms, 0.65 m foldable knife, with 13 to 19 damage. It was an entirely black knife with a triangular tipped edge, and while it was not really ideal for combat, it did have some practical uses. Han Xiao used the experience he gained from crafting the high explosives and the foldable knife to raise machinery affinity Novice, to Elite 4. Machinery Affinity Novice had a level cap of 5, which would take Han Xiao 15,000 experience. His basic shooting was now LV8, and that would take another 45,000 experience to level up. In all, Han Xiao just needed 60,000 more experience to gain 2 more talent points. Each of the 6 nations possessed different types of advanced knowledge that they used to entice powerful people to work for them. On planet Aquamarine, there was only advanced knowledge for 3 of the 5 main classes: Pugilist, Mechanic, and Esper. While no beginner planet possessed advanced knowledge of all 5 main classes, newcomers were always sent to planets based on their inputted preferences. While Division 13 possessed advanced mechanic knowledge, it was only accessible to revered allies. There was still a long way to go before Han Xiao became revered with Division 13. Ever since the night that Han Xiao returned to the workshop, Lu Qian had not once looked at him directly in the eye, and would blush and run away from him after just a few sentences, making Han Xiao feel extremely irked. It did not help that old man Lu would pop up from time to give him knowing looks. As for Lu Qian herself, she actually had mixed feelings about Han Xiao. Of course, she did not hate Han Xiao. However, it was not like she liked him either. Instead, she was more worried that Han Xiao would pack up and leave if she rejected him. After all, where else would she be able to find such a good cheap employee? Suddenly, Han Xiao's mobile phone lit up. The message read, "The paperwork has been completed. Report today. Feng Jun." Finally, Star Dragon Tower was a top-secret government facility where the headquarters of Division 13 was located at. The inside of the tower was like a maze. Han Xiao followed Feng Jun through passageways and tunnels for half an hour before finally reaching the HQ. This time he wasn't blindfolded. "This place is so damn hard to access," complained Han Xiao. "That's why it's safe," replied Feng Jun as he swiped his security pass over the sensor to unlock the giant automatic gate. Han Xiao stepped through the gate into an extremely spacious hall bustling with people. To his surprise, despite being underground, Division 13 HQ was both well-lit and well-ventilated. Feng Jun handed Han Xiao his security pass and a mouth mask. "It's better not to reveal your face to too many people. Wear this." Han Xiao was about to put it on when he noticed that there was a picture of a naked bodybuilder printed on it. He frowned and turned to see Feng Jun stifling his laughter. "Why are you looking at me? Put it on quickly." "Humph." Han Xiao suddenly yanked Feng Jun's arm to rip out a piece of fabric from his sleeve. "This thing suits you better," he casually said as he tied it over his face and threw the custom mask back at him. Feng Jun almost broke out into tears. "This is my newly issued uniform." Suddenly, Han Xiao felt someone watching him. He looked around to find an unfamiliar young man wearing a white coat glaring at him hatefully. "What's he so angry about?" asked Han Xiao bewildered. Feng Jun laughed bitterly. Just ignore him." Luo Xian had never seen Han Xiao's face before, but he knew for certain that the person beside Feng Jun was him. The Covert Ops department had a single floor all to themselves. It was noticeably less crowded than the other departments. Feng Jun brought Han Xiao to a meeting room before leaving. Han Xiao stepped through the door to see that there were already 3 people seated inside. They were none other than Li Yilin, Lambert, and Li Yao. "You're the logistics guy that the director gave special permission to join our team?" Li Yilin rose up to circle around Han Xiao as she examined him. Han Xiao raised an eyebrow. "Special permission? Logistics guy?" Suddenly, he noticed that the woman who had spoken to him was not only slender and perky, but extremely pretty. In Han Xiao's books, she was easily up there with Hila. She was wearing a yellow sports-style jacket on top of black tights. "I am Han Xiao, a mechanic." Li Yao abruptly stood up, knocking his chair down in the process. "And nice to meet you. I am Li Yao, the team's hacker," he introduced, stretching out a hand. "I am the sniper, Lambert," introduced Lambert plainly without getting up. Han Xiao shook Li Yao's hand and casually acknowledged Lambert with a nod. He was obviously the silent type. "Hey, why are you wearing a mask?" asked Li Yilin with big, bright, curious eyes as she reached out to pull Han Xiao's mask off. Han Xiao dodged. "Why are you hiding your face? Don't you trust us?" Li Yilin questioned unhappily. "My identity is top secret," Han Xiao replied. Although being assigned to this team would have to mean that these people were trustworthy, Han Xiao still felt that not revealing his face would save him some trouble. He could imagine the questions they would have for him after learning of his face. Aren't you that wanted fugitive? Why would Division 13 want you? What did you do to the Germinal organization? Answering all those questions would be a real headache. Besides, Han Xiao did not plan to stay in Division 13 for too long. Your identity is top secret? Hold on. Li Yilin seemed to recall something, and she jumped in front of Han Xiao, asking, "Were you the one who made the lightweight mechanical arm?" Han Xiao gave a start. "How do you know?" "Haha. So it's you." Li Yilin jumped about excitedly before slinging an arm over Han Xiao's shoulder. "Make another one for me." Han Xiao's mouth twitched. "It won't be free." Li Yilin laughed loudly before asking softly, "Can I have a discount?" "No. You miser. I still don't know your name." This overly friendly pretty lady was giving him quite a headache. Li Yilin in charge of close combat. She reluctantly answered. "So the four of us are a team." "No, there's still our leader." "Where is he?" "He's not here. He's recovering from an injury." Even the leader gets injured. "Covert ops must be some dangerous work," remarked Han Xiao. The trio exchanged awkward glances. "The leader is sick from food poisoning," explained Liao. Han Xiao was speechless. Liao coughed dryly. The Covert Ops department takes on special high-difficulty missions. Each team contains 4 to 7 people, and other than completing the missions assigned to us each month, we are basically free to do whatever we want in our free time, he began to explain. Covert Ops personnel are the cream of the crop. Some of us, like Uncle Lambert, are recruited from other organizations. He was recruited in from a Special Forces squad. Your designation is field support. You will be in charge of equipment, scheduling, and during operations, gathering and organizing intel. You'll be our eyes and ears from now on. That's nice and all, thought Han Xiao, but I want to hunt monsters. Nevertheless, he could understand why Division 13 arranged things like this. They would rather not put a valuable asset like him in the face of danger. Well, at the end of the day, Han Xiao not only gained their protection, but also a platform to make some money, so he was satisfied. Mechanics were really too weak early on compared to pugilists or espers, so crafting was much more efficient for them to earn experience. "Does our team have a name?" asked Han Xiao. "Team name? What use would that have?" replied a still displeased Li Yilin. "That's true," muttered Han Xiao. Suddenly, Liao interrupted. "We were just issued a mission to take in Black Spider. Apparently, he's still hiding here in the western capital." Han Xiao raised an eyebrow. The timing of the mission was too sudden. It was probably deliberately assigned by the higher-ups. Black Spider? Li Yilin wondered aloud. "I know him. He's infamous for being a solo bounty hunter. The last time those field agents tried to bring him in, he blew up 2 whole streets. Why would he still hide here in the capital? When will we depart?" Lambert asked. "There's no rush. Since they've already confirmed his location, let's just act at night. Since this is your first mission, just familiarize yourself with the logistics preparation." Although it was their first meeting, the trio did not inquire too much about Han Xiao's identity. To be assigned to Covert Ops already meant that the higher-ups trusted him, and that was enough. "You have triggered the classy mission, Black Spider. Accept/decline. Accept mission hint. Black Spider is a notorious murderer and bounty hunter. This is your first mission with the Covert Ops department. Your responsibility is to help the team succeed. Mission requirement: defeat Black Spider. Reward: 5,000 experience. Bonus reward: 40,000 experience or mind stabilizer." Black Spider? Isn't that a mini-boss? Thought Han Xiao to himself. Black Spider was an esper who was regarded as one of the hardest bosses to kill in version 1.0. Normally, a mini-boss quest at Han Xiao's current level would be at least Class D, and reward way more experience. However, in Galaxy, quests rewards were automatically adjusted according to character level and roles. Generally, in a party quest, players who contributed the most damage or healing would earn the most experience. It was a system that prevented experience leeching. I guess it's still better than nothing, Han Xiao consoled himself. From what Han Xiao knew about Black Spider, this mission would be a piece of cake for his team. However, the bonus reward was a different question. Han Xiao knew for sure that the condition for the bonus reward would be to take Black Spider in alive, but it could prove difficult to accomplish as Black Spider was in fact a superhuman, and his abilities made him much harder to catch than to defeat. As of now, only Han Xiao knew about the fact that he was a superhuman. In the game, it would only be revealed later on after launch. On the other hand, since Han Xiao had a complete understanding of the extent of Black Spider's abilities, it was still possible to catch him. "How much will you charge me?" asked Li Yilin all of a sudden. She was clearly still hung up on the lightweight mecha arm. "One lightweight mecha arm will cost 20,000. 10,000 up front, plus materials, and I'll make you one in 2 days. Li Yilin pouted. Although it was almost a month of her wage, she was still bent on having it. "Do you have anything else for now?" Han Xiao pondered for a moment before whipping out what seemed to be a 10-centimeter black knife handle without a blade. "What's this for?" asked Li Yilin uncertainly. Han Xiao chuckled and pressed a small switch on the handle. Instantly, a blade shot out from within it, transforming the stick into a 70-centimeter sharp knife. This is a retractable knife. For Li Yilin, it was love at first sight. The reason she favored her baton was due to its portability, and the retractable knife took it one step further. It was as concealable yet stronger. Just as she was about to grab it out of Han Xiao's hands, Han Xiao dodged. 1,000 for one, he stated with a straight face. In truth, it had only costed him 300 to make. "You stingy miser. Money face." Li Yilin scolded as she forked out the money. As she started to play around with the knife, Lambert suddenly spoke. "I want 10 but shorter. Around 30 centimeters. Han Xiao was overjoyed. "No problem. I want them ready for tonight. As long as I have the materials." "I want one too," Lin Yao exclaimed to Han Xiao's surprise. For some reason, this beginner weapon was turning out to be quite the hot item. What Han Xiao did not know was that innovation was stifled in Division 13, and it probably had something to do with the research department. Furthermore, the type of complex missions that Secret Ops typically performed restricted their choice of equipment. Most agents' preferred weapon of choice for close combat was the dagger, so Han Xiao's retractable knife was quite a game changer. Imagine if, during a mission, your enemy whipped out his 10 centimeters dagger, and you whipped out your meter-long knife. Longer is always more impressive. After acquiring the materials from Lambert and Li Yao, Han Xiao headed over to the private workshop at the logistics department to get the knives crafted. In one afternoon, Han Xiao earned 11,000 aquamarine dollars, and even earned quite a bit of experience in the process. 8,000 in total. Not bad at all. Looks like Division 13 will be the gold mine that I expected it to be. After getting suited up, the trio departed for the city to hunt Black Spider. Han Xiao, though, stayed behind in the HQ to provide support, intel and instructions. Li Yilin, Lambert, and Li Yao all had cameras and mics attached to them, and their feeds were directly wired to Han Xiao. He could clearly see whatever they were seeing, and in some sense his job was to act as a director of sorts. Of course, as Han Xiao was new to the squad, he did not expect them to fully trust his judgment. Furthermore, it was an easy mission that all of them knew the higher-ups meant as a trial. While they did not object to Han Xiao playing captain, whether they would listen to him was another matter. They would still follow their own judgment no matter what, and Han Xiao fully knew this. Nonetheless, Han Xiao was not only quite experienced as a captain, having led 50-men raids back in Galaxy. He was basically omniscient, and this alone made him the best person for the job. Night had fallen. 3 people arrived at the dirty, wet streets of District 8. As it was night, the streets were empty, and the streetlights flickered ominously. District 8 was vastly different from the other districts. The buildings here were shabby, and some did not even have proper roofs. Instead, metal sheets and cloth could be seen covering the houses. Laundry was hanging up all over the place, and the streets were uncleaned and full of litter. This was a place that could hardly be called safe. Drug dealers and the like all thrived in this district, and it was to no one's surprise that Black Spider would hide here. The trio were fully equipped, even Li Yao. Although he was a hacker, and also a coward, he was still able to wield a gun. That apartment building ahead is Black Spider's hiding spot. He should be on the 3rd floor. We need to approach silently, said Li Yilin to Lambert and Li Yan. There's no point in acting stealthy, interrupted Han Xiao through the intercom. Black Spider has already discovered you all. How do you know? Li Yilin frowned. Suddenly, gunfire pierced the silence of the night as a storm of bullets rained upon the trio. They immediately jumped into the nearest alley to seek cover. The trio exchanged serious looks as they leaned against the wall. Since when did he notice us? While a simple ambush like that would never have been enough to do them in, they would not have been able to react so fast without Han Zhao's warning. Li Yilin put her game face on and clamped her earpiece tighter. There was a man standing on top of the tall building from where the shots had come from, smiling frenziedly upon the trio's location, with an assault rifle in his hands. On the left side of his face was a tattoo of a black spider. With a wave of his hand, 10 masked men armed with guns suddenly jumped out of their hiding spots in the nearby streets and alleys to converge on the alley that the trio was in. Our intel was wrong. Wasn't he alone? Lin Yao's eyes were wide with disbelief. Li Yilin's heart sunk. Black Spider began to laugh coldly. Did you think that I would continue staying here if I was not prepared? You guys got me good the other time. But now that you have all kindly offered yourselves up, I shall have my revenge. Black Spider was widely known to be an independent bounty hunter, and his modus operandi was to set up traps before the battle even broke out. The trio were akin to prey stepping into a spider's web. Li Yilin suddenly turned to face the wall, and, as her leg began to glow yellow, smashed it down with a powerful kick to obstruct the enemy's vision. Low-level pugilists relied mainly on their abnormally huge power. Li Yilin was a LV-25 E-class superhuman, with over 300 ONA. Black Spider and his agents suppressed the trio with overwhelming gunfire as they converged onto the alleyway. Li Yilin and Lambert dragged Lin Yao with them as they made use of their surroundings to evade the gunfire. While they were able to dodge all the bullets, they soon found themselves cornered in a dead end. Black Spider and his men had sealed off the alley. Black Spider closed his eyes and took a deep breath. My insects, you must be trembling with fear now, he said frenziedly. Do you think you've won? Replied Li Yilin tauntingly, as she shot a glance at Lambert. Black Spider turned around to face his men, as he opened up his arms. I just need to say give the order, and you will become minced meat in an instant. I do think I've won, don't you? Then what are you waiting for? Glowered Li Yilin. Black Spider waved a finger. Killing you all will do me no good. I'll ransom you for a tidy sum, he proudly declared, knowing full well that Division 13 could hear him through the trio's intercom. But only one of you is enough, he suddenly broke out in maniacal laughter. Just as he was about to give the order to fire, Li Yilin jumped onto the wall, and as her legs began to glow yellow, she sprung forward, soaring in the air like a graceful swallow to close in on Black Spider and his men. Kill her, Black Spider frantically ordered. His men began to fire at Li Yilin, and while a few bullets managed to find their mark despite her being fast to the point of becoming a blur, they simply flattened into metal pancakes upon hitting her clothes. Not only was the fabric of Li Yilin's bodysuit weaved with bulletproof ceramic fiber, her own body itself was tough enough to deflect bullets. From the start, the trio had only been fleeing to bait in Black Spider and all of his men. As Li Yilin distracted them, Lambert whipped out 2 knives with each hand and threw them out, killing 4 men instantly. Li Yilin drew the sheathed retractable knife from her waist and slashed at the nearest agent. The agent threw his head back slightly, thinking that it would be enough to dodge, but, suddenly, a 10 centimeters blade extended out to rip his throat open. Excellent weapon, remarked Li Yilin with shining eyes. What happens when a gunman comes into the range of a pugilist goes without saying. 30 seconds later, there was blood splattered everywhere, and only Black Spider, with both hands chopped off, remained. Li Yilin exhaled as she sheathed the retractable knife. She clearly looked pleased with it. Well done, praised Han Xiao. He had chosen to remain silent during the fight, so as not to bother them. Thank you, Li Yao stammered. Not you. Li Yao lowered his head in depression. He had truly not contributed anything at all during the fight. The heavily wounded Black Spider began to laugh hoarsely as he glared at Li Yilin, without a single trace of fear in his eyes. Little brat, you guys can't kill me, he taunted. Suddenly, Lambert whipped out his gun to shoot Black Spider in the head. Blood splattered across the floor as Black Spider's body collapsed to the ground. Li Yilin and Li Yao turned to look at him speechlessly. Can't know until you try, he stated plainly. Aye, whatever. They didn't tell us to take him in alive anyway, said Li Yilin as she lazily stretched her back. Ah, I want to go back to take a shower. All of this blood is so smelly. Suddenly, however, Han Xiao spoke. Don't let your guard down. He's not dead yet. Li Yilin almost stumbled backwards in her stretch. How can he be alive? She fumed as she pointed at what remained of Black Spider's head. He is a superhuman with some tricky abilities. Unmask the corpse next to him. You will understand, replied Han Xiao calmly. But there isn't any piece of news on the dark web that says Black Spider is a superhuman, hesitated Li Yao. You might be mistaken. Not might, he is definitely mistaken, added a disgruntled Li Yilin. Hey, newbie. I know you want to earn some credit, but don't make these kind of things up. Han Xiao was speechless.